Los Angeles is known for its vibrant neighborhoods and the tastemakers who call them home. Today, we're ranking 5 of our favorite residences that speak to the city's diversity, starting with a Spanish revival and ending with a restored Victorian. Be sure to let us know your own favorite in the comments below. You're watching Homeworthy, where we believe every home has a story. To shop items inspired by this and other Homeworthy episodes, be sure to check out the product links below for amazing furniture, accessories, and more.
Hey Homeworthy, it's Drew of Lone Fox. Welcome to my house in Los Angeles. Let me give you a tour around. Hi, my name is Drew Michael Scott of the YouTube channel Lone Fox, and this here is my living room, and I am an interior designer out of Los Angeles. I actually purchased a 1929 Spanish Revival duplex that I converted into a single family home. I live here with my roommate and really good friend Marie. We've actually lived together for almost 10 years now, and we will continue living together for probably another 10. My style is always changing. I really love trying out new things all the time, but I would definitely say that my style has a great mix of masculine and feminine. I love like the tension between the two, like super feminine, lacy and frilly, and then really like harsh and iron, and kind of that juxtaposition is something I love in my design. Starting off in my living room, this is actually the reason I purchased this home. And this is kind of the grand living room because there's actually 2 since it is a duplex. There's one right underneath. And I love this room because it has a cathedral ceiling that features the original painting on the beams, and I just love that. And I definitely kept that in mind throughout the color use of this entire house, was keeping that beam coloring, the green, the red, and the orange. And in here, this fireplace over here actually had a mantle on it, but it was an added on mantle. So I removed the mantle and brought it back to its original state. I was able to tell that it was actually added on. And so when I did that, we ended up painting the entire room this kind of like, it's called Old White by Farrow and Ball. And it's just kind of like a milky color that resembles old plaster. And in this room kind of is more of the period room to me, like period appropriate room, because it just features a lot of elements from the 1920s. I have these original Monterey chairs, and I love these. These are like my absolute favorite set of chairs in the entire home. I've really been into that kind of like Southwestern style lately, and these just have always fulfilled that love for me. And over here are some built-ins that I actually created. So this wall just used to be a big, huge empty wall. And this actually used to be a large window that the previous owners ended up removing and putting some old doors here. But the old, well, I should say they weren't old doors, they're actually new doors, and I turned them into old doors. I actually found these, believe it or not, in Pasadena at an architectural salvage store, and they fit the door frame perfectly. So I just knew they were meant for this spot in the house. And around that, I built these built-ins and then reframed the entire built-ins. These are actually IKEA, and repainted them, added electrical, DIY'd the whole situation, which can be seen on my channel, and created this lovely little built-in focal wall, which is great because it's like the first thing you see when you walk into the space. And then moving right around here, I haven't even talked about any of the furniture yet. I have a bunch of really fun vintage pieces. I found this sofa from Pop-Up Home in Los Angeles. It's a vintage Italian 70s sofa, so mixing eras and time periods, but the color just works perfect in here. And this table here actually used to be a kitchen island, and I cut the legs off of it because it was just kind of an odd height. It kind of sat right about here, and I wanted to turn it into a coffee table, so cut it down about 20 inches or like 12 inches or so and turned it into the coffee table. On my first trip to Round Top, I got this new lamp, which is so cool. It's a German lamp. So again, just like mixing so many different pieces throughout the space. But we should definitely touch on this space, which is my office nook. And this is kind of where I have all of my samples. They're all throughout this entire table here. This is a vintage French farm table, and it has these really big drawers on the end, so I could put all of my fabric samples and swatches. So we lay them out on here when I'm working on a new project. It's kind of like the design room. I painted this room in olive green color, and I actually created this entire ceiling to resemble the one in the living room. So this was not here before. There was actually just these two beams here in the center, and then I worked off of those and created this like coffered ceiling just to tie it together. And I love this light. It's an old French cloche that has an iron base like re-wrapped around it. And yeah, there's a little balcony out here as well, which is great. And this gallery wall here has a bunch of art that I love. I actually recently wrapped this frame in fabric. This is just like an IKEA frame, and I wrapped it along with the mat. And I'm gonna start doing that with so many of my frames because I think it looks so cool. But these are all just found from the flea market, some oil paintings. This one's a watercolor along with this one. And I just love art. It's all over my entire house. Old art just makes me very happy. So this room just gets a lot of design work done in it, which is great. And then working right out here, we're actually gonna head into the dining room. But look at this piece. This is a Lone Fox favorite on the channel. Like, everyone absolutely loves this apothecary cabinet. It has a really great little edge. I mean, I love it too. That's why I picked it up. And I got it at Olive Atelier, which is one of my favorite places to shop in downtown Los Angeles. And this authentic, beautiful hand-carved stone bust it's honestly not. It's just like ceramic, but it's so cool. I love it. So let's head into the dining room. And we can't forget about this little area because this space I recently redid on my channel, and it used to have a door and was kind of like a little hall closet, but there was a window, and I thought, why not I just open it up? It's actually where I converted the space into a little doggy door for my new puppy Winston. And I added a counter up here, so it's kind of like our little entryway for the upstairs. I love the way that it looks, and I love that there's a window in there. It lets in a little bit more light. And then right around the corner is the dining room. So when I'm designing for myself or clients, I love looking at old design books actually for inspiration, because I feel like a lot of the images that you find in these old books are just not anywhere on the internet. I always flip through old design books. I go to bookstores and flip through them all the time, or I'll rent them or even buy them, because I really find a lot of inspo that way, and there's dedicated books to specific styles and time periods, so you can gain a lot of inspo. So I find a lot of my pieces on Facebook Marketplace, and the best way to build your Facebook Marketplace algorithm is honestly just to go on it like at least once a day and search some things of the style you're looking for. So like I found this, for example, on Facebook Marketplace. It's an iron chandelier. I got it for $100, but I had iron searched for lots of different materials in my house, and it finally showed me. I feel like the Facebook Marketplace algorithm truly is so great, and it just knows what you're looking for and shows you like items all the time. And I also love Facebook Marketplace for shopping because you find things you never know you needed. So you're gonna stumble across the most random stuff on your like For You section, and it's just a great place to shop and find affordable items. So here is the dining room, and this is probably one of the most used rooms for me in the house because I love just like sitting here and working on my computer, or when we have our little mini team meetings, we do them in this space. I lime washed this entire room with a color called Bistro by Portola, and it's just so warm and beautiful, especially when the sun sets. It sets through these windows over here. It looks great, and I have so many Facebook Marketplace finds in this room, believe it or not. We have the chandelier over here, the bookcase against this whole entire wall over here is Marketplace, the mirrors Marketplace, the lamps Marketplace, the busts Marketplace. So you guys, I just love using it because I just stumbled across this one day and I was like, I need that. So I picked it up, and I have just a bunch of favorite serving essentials over here, like these little dishes, candlesticks. I have these decorative plates on the wall. I love decorating with plates. And actually, the focal of the entire room is this insane table that weighs over 1,000 pounds, and it had to be taken up here very carefully by some heavy lifting movers, and they were able to get it up here, which is great. So a few of my favorite features in this room, firstly, are the ceiling beams. They actually have the original painting on the beams. And believe it or not, there's these little scrolls painted on them. And when I had an appraiser come through and look at the light fixtures in the home, she let me know that these scrolls actually would have your initials put in them. So whoever painted this never painted their initials in them, or like the house got sold and the initials were never painted. So I'm ready to put LF in there for Lone Fox, of course. I just haven't done it yet, coming soon. And then I also love this popsicle stick lamp right here. Found this on Marketplace. It's such a cool piece. It's called tramp art, actually old art that was just created from like everyday random objects. And I love it. I think it's so cool, and just the use of material. And again, hanging plates on your wall. It's such a fun way to display decorative plates. It's like artwork, but the shapes are really nice because you really don't get that in frames, you know? So this looks really pretty. And yes, I just love the mix of materials throughout this entire space. It just feels really cozy. The sconces as well. Believe it or not, this wall, this used to be a wall right here. There used to be like an entire wall here, and I opened it up into this large archway to reveal our coffee bar, which is right over here and leading on into the kitchen. So here's a coffee bar area, and I have a few fun things to say about this. So the first thing is that this actually used to have cabinet doors on it. I just took them off because there was too many closed cabinets in this kitchen and turned it into this open shelving. And then throughout the entire kitchen, I actually had this Calcutta Monet that I hand-picked, hand-templated, put it all together, like made sure every vein was correct. And I was only gonna put it on this area, but I had quite a few remnants and I had enough to fill these uppers with it. So I also added it to the uppers. We painted this the color Van Buren Brown by Benjamin Moore. And this is a coffee bar. And something else kind of fun too is that this bread is actually foam. So it always looks like I have fresh bread here, but it's actually made of foam. So yes, this is a coffee bar, and I love this area. We make coffees here. It's a highly used section of the home, and that actually leads into the kitchen over here, which is a fun little galley kitchen, but I feel like I made the most of it, so let me share it with you. So this is the kitchen, which is actually the first space I transformed in this home, and you guys gotta pop up a photo of the original kitchen because it looked crazy. They just really stripped it of all of its character. This used to have the original like 1920s tile in it, which I don't know what looks like, sadly. However, the lower kitchen has the original, so it could have looked the same, but I ended up transforming it into a little bit more of a modern, updated kitchen, and I did plaster on the walls, which I literally plastered myself. These are the countertops that I templated because I wanted all the veining to like flow from this side over into this arch over here and transfer down. Like I was really particular. If I was spending money on this marble, I was going to use every inch of it. So I did that, created these shelves in the little like tops of the marble backsplashes, which I love. And then this was such a kind gift that Wayfair sent me when I did a great project with them where we made over a family's home, the entire house in 10 days. It was called 10-Day Transformation. So good. And I love this oven so much. And here's my range hood that people say looks like the front of a Jeep. And I always love to point that out because it actually really does. But I love that because I used to have a Jeep, so it kind of reminds me of it. And it's plastered, but I love it. It's like angled and it wasn't intentional, but it looks great. Through this archway is the breakfast nook, and this is such a cute little space. It actually has a fun table that I kind of put together. I pieced it together. This is actually a tabletop from Morocco. It's a liege tile, and I put it on top of a pot and then on top of a rock and just like glued them all together and created this table. And then I found these really great Alana Gore chairs on Facebook Marketplace, and they were a great deal, so I had to pick them up. They're like my dream chair for this home. I feel like they're just such a cool style, and these cafe curtains are actually Pottery Barn napkins, so a little life hack if you want to create some cafe curtains. I hung them on this like $6 rod from Lowe's and then hung up some curtains so I can like swap them out if I want to change the color or anything. I mean, just look how good they look. So I added those, and then these are some frames, and they're like an organic wood frame, but they actually have some art prints from when I did my collection with Decenio. There's like 15 different art prints you can get, and they're so cute. I love the dog, and I love the gingham. I use that one all the time. And the light fixture is actually another flea market find. It's like $45, and I added a cord cover from Pearson Ward, one of my favorite stores in Los Angeles. I love their items. And I just feel like it adds like a little cute touch, and I love the style of this. There's a lot of these little medallion motifs throughout the entire home, like on the original doors, so I wanted to continue that through the lighting and wherever I was able to add it. This is a lovely piece of art that I found on Facebook Marketplace, of course, and I just like it in here. It looks so great, and we have to touch on the tile too. I know that's random, but it goes throughout the entire kitchen, but the tile really is like such a cool moment. I hand laid all of it, we grouted all of it, did this little soldier row, and there's like a fun transition in the laundry room area. But I love the way that it looks because it kind of feels outdoor, but it's inside, so that's a fun element. And it's really nice having the breakfast nook right by the dining room because we normally have like lots of stuff splayed out on the tables over here and then have our computers over here so we can like transfer back and forth, and we just have a lot of space up here to work around. So it's nice having both of them. But we are gonna head into the hallway because that's a really cool space and it has some red lacquered doors, which you need to see. So I feel like hallways are a pretty boring space normally because they're like the transition to every other space in your home, but I decided that I was going to make this space really fun, and I lacquered the doors. Well, I actually just high gloss painted them with Farrow and Ball's Eating Room Red paint, and it looks so great. And then on the walls in here is their paint in the color Cord. And then throughout the space, there's actually a skylight, which I don't know if is original or not. I still can't tell. I feel like it's not original, but I love it because it adds light to this area. And then there's built-ins right around the corner over here. I did some great molding on the floor and just added a bunch of random art throughout this space that I love. This is one of my favorite pieces. I got it with my mom back in our hometown at a little vintage store, and I was like, wow, I feel like this is a good one. So I had to pick that up. And yeah, this is the hallway. We're gonna head on into Marie's bedroom. So here we have Marie's bedroom. So designing the space for Marie compared to designing the space for myself, she honestly is really, really trusting and always open to the design ideas I have. So I always kind of give it like a base, like I do all the furniture and add styling and such to the space, but then of course she personalizes it with her own little touches. Like there's some of her own art on the walls here and here. Now this is a room that actually faces a neon red home. Like the house next to this home is painted bright red, and so it bounces this red light in here, and I took that into account when designing the space, that I wanted it to still look really pretty with the red light because I can't change that. And so I did it this kind of, it's called Warm Suede by Meoded, and I plastered it on the walls. We did 3 coats of plastered, sanded it down. It was like the most intensive wall application I've done, but I love the way that it looks like actual stone, and if you get up close to it, you can see like little flecks of like stone particles in it, which is fun. Then from there, I just added a bunch of elements that I thought would look great for Marie's space. I feel like this room has a nice, good mix of like feminine and masculine elements. Like this light is super dainty and like glass, but then we have a dark wood desk over there that I feel like kind of juxtaposes that style a little bit. And a lot of the furniture in here is actually from Lulu in Georgia. I collaborated with them on this space, and I think that all the pieces look so great, and I love their items so much. They're such nice quality. This is my Bear brick, and I got this when I was in New York like 2 years ago, but it had Mona Lisa on it. I could not purchase this because it was just the coolest one I had seen, and her name's Mona. She just lives right here, and she's really cool. And yeah, I just love this room. I actually don't spend very much time in here because it's Marie's bedroom, but it is such a beautiful space. And why don't we head into her bathroom, which is just right down the hall. So here is Marie's bathroom, which you actually might recognize from Architectural Digest. I did this as a project for them, and it was like a 5-part social feature, which was super cool. And the reason that this project I think did so well was because this material on the walls is actually called concreta, and underneath this here is all tile. Like all the tile that they had in here before, which was not cute. It was like white subway tile. I went right over the top of it with plaster. Like, didn't have to do anything. The entire shower was all tile all the way up, went over it with plaster, did not have to tear it out, re-hot mop it all, like resurface it and then plaster it. Like, it's such a great step. It's such a great product, and it's by a brand called Meoded. A lot of the wall finishes in my house are. And I also found a bunch of Facebook Marketplace finds for this room too, like this vanity, which I painted this color, which I think is Aurora Brown from Benjamin Moore. And then I found the shield crest mirror on Facebook as well. And this great light here, it's like a Murano sconce. I got it at a shop called Panoply in Los Angeles. And there actually used to be a door right here. I even forgot about that. I covered up the door because it wasn't necessary. It led to the laundry room, and we have a laundry hutch on the other side now, and then towel storage on this side. So it's just a little bit more better flowing, and I love the way that this room turned out. Really created an impact for how small it is. And now I'm going to take you into my bedroom. So now we are in my bedroom, which is probably the actual room I spend the most time in. I love, and this is also the most recent space I've done, but I love it. It's turned out so great. We did like this really cool striped ceiling detail and added these pinstripes to the ceiling in navy, and then I painted the ceiling this kind of gold chartreusey green color. So my bed is from Crate & Barrel and Jake Arnold. This is such a great bed. It's mohair and it has like this really cool shape to the back of it. And then I actually got this bed cover from Olive Atelier. A bunch of the furniture in here is from Olive Atelier, like the wicker chase and the stool over there. And I actually found these lights, these pendant lights on Facebook Marketplace for $30. The lady just threw them in a box and sent them here. Like, they arrived in a box this big, and there's like 2 pendant lights in the box, but you get what you pay for, you know? So they were $35. And my nightstands are from CB2, a little vintage table over here just for the time being. I don't know what I want to add over here yet, so I just added this furniture piece. And we can't forget about this amazing TV cabinet, which actually has a little key that you open it with. This actually used to be like a mint green color, and I painted it to look like old wood, so you just open it up and my TV's inside. And then I actually have all my like dresser storage, like for my clothes underneath there. And then all my camera stuff, look at this, sneak peek is in here. Needs to be organized though, so don't look too close. And that's the cabinet. And this is the TV cabinet. I love it though. It's really substantial and takes up a lot of space. This little crest here is from a flea market. I found it. And then working our way over here, our last room that I'm gonna share with you is my little office nook, which I think is so cute. I love the way that the space turned out. So through this little archway off of my bedroom, this actually used to be like the dressing room of the primary bedroom. So there was cabinetry all here. It was like floor to ceiling cabinets that you would open. And I pulled them out because I just never used them in the year I lived here. And I actually turned it into this little office nook, which I use all the time now. I can just like sit here and edit my videos. This is where I edit all my content. I love it in here. It has like a window and the bathroom's right there if you gotta go, you know? So, I mean, it's a great space. I love working in here, and I actually paneled the entire room in hardwood floors that I got on sale at Floor & Decor because I wanted like a wood paneled space, and stripped the original built-in here down to like the wood, and then created this little skirt which hides all of my camera equipment, which is under here at the moment. But I think this is really cute. It's such an easy way to add hidden storage and a little bit of texture and pattern without having to like create doors or like figure out how to add them to a space. The piece of art here I love because it just has like a masculine energy to it, which I think is really cool. And then but I love how he has a little picture with tea. Like, it's so cute. And then the blues coordinate with the blue in the bathroom behind me, which is currently a work in progress, so we're not gonna go in there yet. Home to me is all about a space that you can be 100% yourself in, feel 100% yourself, but also really feel inspired in as well. And kind of, it's a collection of your life. You know, you can add trinkets and little additions as you travel or grow up throughout your years. So I feel like it's just like you in a space. Well, Homeworthy, it's been great having you. I hope you enjoyed my home tour, and I'll see you next time. Bye.
Hi Homeworthy, I'm Law. Welcome to my home in LA. Come on in.
You're watching Homeworthy, where we believe every home has a story. Be sure to visit our website, homeworthy.com, to discover amazing furniture, art, accessories, and more, all handpicked by our editors to help transform your house into a home. All of the items are inspired by the episodes you see here on Homeworthy. Enjoy!
I'm Elizabeth Law. I go by Law, and this is my home in Los Angeles. This house was built in 1923. It was a part of the Hollywoodland development, and it was alleged to be one of the first. I heard one of the first, actually the third house built in Hollywoodland. I don't know if that's true, but it was certainly one of the first ones. I found some really awesome old photos where, you know, there was tons of space between each house. When the development was built, there were, I believe, 3 options of architectural styles, one of them being Spanish. So this is kind of quintessential Hollywoodland. It's in Beechwood Canyon, right under the Hollywood sign. So when I saw this house for the first time, I walked through the gate into this courtyard, and I absolutely was struck by the entry, the architecture, the whole thing, and it really did feel, I mean, it was exactly what I was looking for in every way. The outside, inside thing for Los Angeles is just perfect. Having this much space in this neighborhood was, you know, unexpected. So it felt like home immediately. This is Luna. She's gonna be joining us today, I believe. And welcome. This is the foyer. This is the first room that you enter in the house, and I have some of my favorite things here right upon entry. I've got these Spanish chairs that I got from a friend. This sculpture is actually by Angelica Houston, and she gave this to me. It's one of my favorites. She makes these little women, and I think they're just fabulous. This is also a family gift. A friend, painter John Alexander, his lily pads are my favorite. I always do this round mirror or a big mirror in the entry because it's a lot of impact and people tend to like that. So no, this space is sort of weirdly, this is actually used to sit in. So no, it wasn't a hard space. It is an odd space for sure because there's arches, you know, on every wall almost. So. But no, it's just a good catch-all, really. And next is the living room. So this room is where there's lots of hang time, very cozy, tons of seating, and it's just a collection of old, new things that I've found along the way. I've got Brutalist, I've got Deco, I've got something from India. This fireplace was sponge painted gold when I bought this house. So I painted it white, and I got the Talavera tile, which is very era appropriate Spanish. And I tiled it myself, so don't look too closely because it is far from perfect, but at least it looks better. This is my newest prized possession. It's a painting by Martha Manns. I got it at a gallery in Santa Fe. Santa Fe in particular holds a very special place to me. So this is called Dangerous Beauties, and it is cactus flower, and I think it is just so fabulous. This rug is actually the first thing that I bought like as an adult for my apartment when I was, 21 or so, like a big, grown-up purchase, which was really exciting. Oh, another thing I was going to show you. This, I've gotten a lot of art at estate sales because it's just a great place to find things that you wouldn't have expected. And this painting, I did not realize, was actually by Janet Gaynor, who was the first woman to win an Academy Award at the first ceremony. So I thought it was so cool because this is about the time when this house was built. So, whenever I can find little historical elements like that, I try to incorporate it. These chairs were just a fun thing that has an interesting story because I found them on an auction, didn't buy them. About a year later, they popped up on eBay, and they're without question the same chairs. So I ended up getting them, and I found an old postcard in them. I don't know where it is, but there was a postcard just shoved in there that was from like 1925, and it was a thank you note from someone written in Swedish. So that was kind of cool. So the hardwood floors are original. What they did in probably the 80s, which was a popular thing, they wanted to make the skinny wood look like bigger, wider planks. So they made these weird grooves in them, which is a shame because it really dates it, but they are original floors for sure. And these arches, very Spanish. The beams, very Spanish. I did just have them stained because they had been stained a red to kind of do this more mid-century thing, which just wasn't right for the house. So I had them stained back, but they are real, redwood beams that's what everything was made out of back then. I have books upon books upon books. A lot of them, most of them are art or design related. This is a new one that I just got, which is really cool, woman made. It has also like every female designer in history. Santa Fe, of course, and then over here, more books. I have quite a collection of interior design and artists. So this tea set I actually got in Morocco when I was 10 with my dad. We were in Portugal on a family trip, which I credit also with being highly influential in my design aesthetic with those Mediterranean style houses. And my dad came up with a plan then and there that when everybody turned 10, we would go on an individual dad-child trip, and we went to Morocco. We drove there way before GPS, so I had a map and shotgun, and we made our way down there. So I bought that when I was 10 years old. We drove from Portugal through Spain to, the ferry and took a ferry over to Morocco. These I have two of these candelabras. They are antique and they were gifts, so I unfortunately don't know that much about them, but they're really beautiful, and I love a candle. There are candles everywhere. And these are pretty awesome when it's all lit. When I'm entertaining, I definitely like to put the candles all out and have them all lit. Very vibey in here, but I have also learned the hard way that sometimes too many candles can be a problem. So it depends on the kind of party I'm having. These old plaster homes are really well made for climate, honestly. So while we'll get a lot of sun coming through this side of the room in the afternoon, which is also very fun because my disco ball in about an hour will be all over the space, which is very fun. But honestly, the heat is not so much of a problem in here because it's just so well insulated because of the way this house is built, which is amazing given that it is 100 years old. These right here are some mid-century pendant lights that were given to me by a family friend who I actually apprenticed with before I went to Parsons. So I kind of shadowed her, worked with her for maybe 9 months or so, and she gave these to me probably when I was actually in college. And so they have moved all over the place with me since then, and I love them. So another great thing about this living room are the original windows and doors. This room has 2 sets of French doors that go straight outside of the courtyard. So let's have a look. This house is a little over 2,000 square feet. It technically is 3 bedrooms, 2.5 baths, but I've kind of reconfigured things to have different purposes for my use in this house. So my personal style is definitely eclectic. I think it leans in the Spanish and sort of old world vibe. When I was looking for a house to buy, I had all of that in mind. What I already had really works. So it's eclectic. I have Art Deco, I have Brutalist, I have, you know, Gothic Spanish, I have contemporary pieces, I have family heirlooms. So it really is a mix. So this is my courtyard. It is a perfect place to have an alfresco meal. It's really peaceful up here in Beechwood Canyon, so it's often very, very quiet, which is amazing. I've done very little to the outside space because it's just, the original house is exactly as it should be. I've done some of the planting and of course the disco ball. I spent a good amount of time out here because the weather in LA just allows you to be outside. We're in January and it is perfect out. So we spend a lot of time out here, lots of meals out here, and I have a seating arrangement that's, you know, with fire pit and all, so that it can also be used as sort of your outdoor living space. The awnings in the house are not original to the house. The previous owners would have put them in, but I kept them because they really work. It sort of gives a hotel vibe too, which is fun. I wish I had a green thumb. I sure try. My parents are really good at it. I am not. At the moment, nothing's really flowering. I did put a lot of flowers in, but it's just not the season. I have gardenias, which we have at the farm back home in South Carolina, so that's really nice because the fragrance of them is so nostalgic for home. I planted an orange tree and a lot of succulents. It's just to kind of fill it in a little bit because this is all mostly hardscape. So the fun thing about the courtyard too is that the house is really situated around it. So this would be a bedroom, that's another bedroom, that's the dining room, and then of course the living room. So it's all very central around this space, which is really nice for indoor-outdoor living. So that is the lovely courtyard, and now I'll show you the rest of the house. Both of my parents are pretty creative people, and my mother was a designer before she had kids. So my childhood certainly influenced my design. I don't know that where I came from is so much an influence as how I was brought up. We traveled a lot. For instance, I have a tea set here in the living room that I got when I was 10 on a trip to Morocco. So I have a lot of influence that comes from all over. Before we check out the dining room, I want to show you something really quick. It's the powder room. I haven't done too much in here since I bought the house, except the wallpaper and the light fixtures, which was really important to me. A powder room is always my jewel box moment in a house. Love wallpaper, especially when it shows flora. So this, along with the light fixtures, really brought it back to sort of an old world feeling that I thought was missing in this space. And it's fun, like a fun departure from the rest of the house. And then this space is just a great little vestibule with this beautiful carved mirror that I still just am so excited about. It's really super beautiful, Spanish as well. And there's this, you know, more indoor-outdoor living. There's this very sweet Juliet balcony that looks out over the backyard. When I moved to Los Angeles in my early 20s, I actually worked in music. I wanted to be a music manager. That was the dream. And so I did work in music for a while, but I always found myself, you know, redesigning my own place. Friends would call me to come over and do theirs. So it was really a hobby that was taking up a lot of my time, and I enjoyed it so much. And the music thing just wasn't really what I had fantasized that it would be. So I went to the East Coast for a little bit before I went to school in New York, and I apprenticed under a good family friend who's an interior designer. I worked with her for under a year, but it was really informative and useful. And so then I went up to New York and went to Parsons and did their interior design program, which was amazing. And going back to school was such a different experience than just being an undergrad. So that was very valuable. And I kind of launched from there through word of mouth, friends of friends, and so on, and just kind of jumped. And now let's check out the dining room. So now we're in the dining room, and one of the first things I was able to do when I bought this house was take out the ceiling fan that was once above the dining table. So I found this beautiful brutalist iron chandelier from France, and it's super unique, fits the space so well, especially over the round table. So that made a big impact in this room. Another thing that was odd was that these beams had been faux finished in like a purple and green faux wood something or other. So that I obviously had to get rid of as well, and kind of just pared it down and brought it back to just being a more simple space. Again, I have lots of just found collected things. This mirror right here is a family heirloom from my grandmother, so that's very, very special. This piece of art over on this side of the room, my brother went on a backpacking trip throughout Asia, and this is actually on linen. So he had this, and he knows that I love elephants, so this is an elephant ink drawing, I suppose, on a piece of linen. So he had it all folded up in his backpack for months and brought it back to me, which is very sweet. So I have that framed, and this room gets a lot of use. I love a round dining table. It really allows for better conversation. Everyone's included. I kind of need a bigger one, but here we are. Another balcony here, which is super sweet. It opens up completely, and then you can also go into the kitchen through a little tiny door on that side. And we're looking right over into an old avocado tree, which is so nice. It really feels like you're just tucked away in a tree house in here. So this piece is actually a friend of mine. She, when I was moving into this house, my friend has a lot of stuff just sitting in storage, and this is her grandmother's, and she couldn't stand that it was in storage, knew that I had the space for it, and so we just have sort of a agreement that it's going to sit here until she needs it one day. But it's really great. It's a beautiful piece, gets a lot of use. So I collect a good bit of china. I have all sorts. I love a pretty decorated table, and these are one of the newest additions from my mom. It's such a fun collection. They're very fancy on the outside, really ornate, and then they have this wild sort of Day of the Dead theme in the middle, and they're really fun. So I love to have dinners. I love to have formal dinners. When friends come over, they know it's like put on your best dress. So I dress it up. I've got vintage crystal that my mom gave me. I've got, you know, china and things that I've collected along the way. So I really love to deck it out. Love flowers, candles, and everything. So it's really, you know, art in itself. So this bench has kind of a catch-all of things. I've got a lot of family photos, people from both sides of the family, much older, grandmother shots, great-grandfather shots, and so on. And just things that I've collected along the way. I've got these daggers. I have this beautiful little toothpick holder that is Art Deco and super, super dainty. I love this so much. Yeah, and just things that I found along the way. And this right here is a kimono. It just felt like something that needs to be on the wall and not just hanging in a closet. So I did just that. It's so beautiful with all the colors and everything. So I treat it like a piece of art. Before we move into the kitchen, I'll point out these gates here. They were actually in when I bought the house, but I think that they're perfect. So I kept them there, especially for the dog when you're in the kitchen and busy. It's a wonderful little break instead of having a solid door. I entertain a lot. I love to cook. I love to have this house just absolutely jammed with friends. So this house is really great. It's not huge, but it does have a really big outside area. So from the living room, there are 2 pairs of French doors that open right into the courtyard. And so there's just flow that's super easy. I have dinner parties often. I do a dinner series in the courtyard because I really, really love the energy that happens when you have a lot of people milling about, conversation, music, and all that. So this is the kitchen, and instead of doing a, breakfast table, which is kind of what this would have called for, I have this enormous piece of furniture, which I got in Santa Fe actually, and it was just perfect for this space. So I use it as another kind of china cabinet and everything like that because this kitchen does not have a lot of storage. So it's perfect for this wall, and honestly the only wall in the house it could have fit on. So there it is. And this photograph is like a paint bomb, which I bought ages ago and has come with me everywhere, but it has a lot of impact and people often ask me about it. It's really funny, but I do love it. It's fun. And then as for the rest of the kitchen, it's not original, unfortunately, although a lot of people think it is. One of the first things I did when I moved here, my mom came out to visit and we painted the kitchen. So all of the cabinets were just like 80s wood, and we painted it with this Pharaoh and ball color, which is really nice, kind of made the space more handsome and felt a little bit fresher. The kitchen, despite my best efforts, is where everybody gathers. So it's a great space. I can't wait to renovate it one day. One day I'll do that. One of my favorite things about this kitchen though is where the sink is situated here with all these windows. It's just so nice. Again, feels like I'm up in the trees. I do have the original drawings of the house, and from what I can tell, this area behind me used to be like a breakfast room itself. So it was completely separate from the rest of the kitchen, which is so funny to me. But I love the layout of it. It's nice. These chandeliers are 20s French. I love them so much. I put these in most of the light fixtures in this house I've changed because they had been kind of updated here and there over time. So these were a beautiful pair, and they really add a lot of character to this space. So this kitchen, while it's not original, the tile countertop sort of lends itself to the time. There's debate on whether tile, stone, or even chopping block is a better surface for a kitchen. I really like the tile, especially because it is sort of true to the era. When I do eventually renovate this kitchen, I will do a tile for sure, just because it's just appropriate for the time. Something marble and terribly contemporary just wouldn't really feel right to me. So this kitchen is very much lacking in storage, and it's lacking in upper cabinetry, obviously. So I put these in, which is a great little easy solution for glassware in particular, because that's kind of what's being grabbed more than anything. Plus it helps fill out this wall in a way that makes sense. So I actually made this little skirt, and it is covering up the dishwasher, which I thought was, could be more attractive. So it was just really for fun in the beginning, but I've grown to love it, and the fabric itself fits so well in the space in terms of color and tone, so it stayed. And this kitchen is great because I cook a lot, and so when friends are over, they can sit over there, I'm over here, I've got everything kind of at the ready. This kitchen gets a lot of use. So I am very much ready to leave the open floor plan thing behind. I like having separate spaces. It feels more intimate when you're in the space. It feels like you can kind of tuck things away. For instance, if you're cooking, you can kind of leave the mess behind and go and enjoy yourself. So I like that this house feels like every room is a designated space, but at the same time, it is still somewhat open because it's arches. It's not, closed doors. So it kind of, and the way that the house is positioned gives you sort of both, if that makes sense. The original owners did a lot of renovation in the 80s and 90s. So what I've seen in the original drawings, which I'm very lucky to have, there are definitely some details that have gone away over the years. So something that we do still have that's original are the beams. Quintessential, Spanish home. The arches are all original. The footprint is original for sure. And there's one bathroom that is original to the 20s with all the tile and the tub and everything. So what I'm intending to do while here is bring a lot of the original era appropriate, tile, kitchen style, all that back to the house. So I'm doing that slowly. The fireplace is an example of that. It had been sponge painted gold when I moved into this house, and they'd even hidden the niche behind a painting. So I took the painting away, I painted the thing white, and I tiled it myself with Talavera tile just to kind of get that Spanish appropriate tile back in the mix because it had kind of all been erased. So the bedrooms are conveniently right off of the kitchen. This whole area is, bedrooms, bath, and so on. Come on in. So yeah, this is the only built-in left really in this house. This would have been very typical at the time because there wasn't a whole lot of storage and closet space. So these are old. I use them as a linen closet. It's very convenient and nice, and I would always keep something that's original if I can. So that's perfect. And then through here is the original bathroom from the 20s. So this bathroom, for the most part, is original. The tile, the tub, I think the sink even, and it's great. So I would keep it always, just because, you know, these places are fewer and further between these days. What this would have been is the shared bathroom between 2 bedrooms. And nowadays it's really not conducive to our modern lifestyle. But honestly, this bathroom isn't that big, so I wouldn't really do anything differently, and it would just kill me to interrupt anything original. So I'm just gonna keep it the way it is for now. So this is an original, I'm guessing, intercom of some sort. It says living room and chambers, which is funny. Gonna stay there as well because that's just so interesting. And over here are the 2 bedrooms. This is the one that is currently used as a bedroom. So yeah, this is my bedroom. It's a sweet little room. When I got the house, there was actually like a 80s closet that went across, and it had, you know, floor to ceiling mirrors on the door, sliding doors. So I took it out to give myself more space. The light in here is wonderful. I like a room to just be really minimal and peaceful and clean and quiet. So there's not much else in here other than sort of the necessities. So this painting I got at an estate sale in LA, and I got it for, you know, not very much money at all. And it turns out I did a lot of research into the artist by his last name, and it was a really interesting backstory. So I feel very grateful to have it in my space. And this Suzani fabric I got in Santa Fe, and I just have it draped over the headboard for now. It kind of moves around. It's a little pop of color and pattern that has had many lives. And this rug, gosh, I don't even remember where I got it from, but I like that it's, you know, flat weave, that it's very neutral, and I put this in by myself, which was insane. I moved the bed, I moved the rug. I cannot believe I did not injure myself, but man, when I put my mind to something, I will do it. And that was one of those things. But it's really, it works tonally. It just kind of gives a little excitement to the room. This home is really special because the area is very quiet, it's very peaceful. We're right up against Griffith Park, so there's a lot of nature. I feel like I'm just tucked away here. The indoor-outdoor element, I can just have all the windows and doors open, and it's just really peaceful, and it feels like it's, I mean, it is from a different time, and you can really feel that here. You know, walking into the courtyard, you could also be anywhere. You could be in Europe in a totally different time. So that's what I really love about it. It's the history and the flow, and it gets great light. And then my dressing room is next. So this is my dressing room, come in, which is a bedroom, but for my purposes, since I'm here by myself and there's not a closet in the bedroom, I just converted this into a dressing room, which is pretty wonderful. And let's see, what do I have in here that's fun? This is one of my favorite. It's a vintage jacket from New Mexico that is real special. So this is one of my favorite pieces that I have in here. I have my dress up pieces because we need those here in Los Angeles. And then this piece I've had for so long. Again, the family friend who I worked for as an apprentice early on, she gave this to me when I first went away to school. So this has moved with me. It's been recovered a million times, and I think it is just so elegant, and I love it, and there's no better place for it to be than in a dressing room. I love decorating my own home because it's such a natural thing to do. However, the difference between me decorating my own home and decorating for a client is that it's never ending. It is a constant evolution. I'm always buying new things, fitting new stuff in. So it's not quite the same, and as a perfectionist, it will probably never be finished. But I do love it. I mean, I absolutely love collecting things on travels and just, you know, along the way. The word home to me is a sanctuary. It's where you feel safe. It's where you have sort of the story of you. It's the things you've collected, it's the things that you enjoy. To me, a home is an expression of the person.
Hi, Homeworthy. I'm Jen. This is my home in Los Angeles, California. I am so glad you're here and I can't wait to show you everything. Come on in.
Hi everyone, I'm Allison Kenworthy, the founder of Homeworthy, and over the past few years, I've been dedicated to bringing you inside the most beautifully decorated homes from around the world and introducing you to the people who have shaped them.
Hi, Homeworthy. I'm Roz.
You're here at my home in Los Angeles.
Come on in. I can't wait to show you around.
With this membership, we invite you to open more doors, discovering new homes, rooms, and personalities exclusively available to those with the keys to our guest house. You'll be part of a community of people who are also passionate about all things interior design. You'll receive early access to the videos we upload to the main channel. Most importantly, each week we'll be uploading unique videos here that are exclusively available to our members. Tips and tricks from top designers.
We used a high gloss lacquer on the ceiling and it really just reflects everything beautifully.
Never seen before rooms.
And the kitchen is the old altar to the church. This is state dining room. We have a lot of luncheons and dinners and brunches in here.
Behind the scenes photos and so much more. We look forward to welcoming you inside our guest house. To access all of this exclusive content, click the join button to become a member today. You're watching Homeworthy, where we believe every home has a story.
Hi, I'm Jen Feldman. I am in Los Angeles, California. Welcome to my living room and to my home, and I can't wait to show you where I live. My family home was truly a dream come true, a journey of construction and decor coming together. We found this house in August of 2021. It was a 1937 colonial that had really not had a ton of work done to it. So for someone like me, it was exactly what we were looking for. An old house with charm that we could update to modern amenities without losing the soul and the details of what an old home can really provide. My family constellation is my husband of almost 18 years and two teenage boys. My older son Sammy is 16 and my younger son Ari is 13. So the Feldman fraternity house is in full effect most days of the week. And then of course we have our wonderful sheepadoodle, Frankie, who is 4.5 years old. Welcome to my front entry hall of our home. This space that I'm standing in here was originally part of the exterior that we were able to take as interior space and create really what became a double ceiling height entry, which so magical, such a lucky find. This arch was created to kind of give a little bit of a separation as you come into the main entry hall behind me. But before I take you there, I'll show you just a little peekaboo of the world I live in with a lot of teenage boys. I have two of them that have very large shoes and a lot of backpacks and sporting equipment. So the wall over here was designed to be beautiful cabinetry, but what's really behind the doors is lockers for each of my kids to have all of their supplies and things that they need, and shoe storage below that allows me to not have to look at it every day. So behind me is kind of the main entry and the beautiful staircase. We were able to cut a custom rug for this and make a staircase runner, which I'm still in love with every day, and kind of gives the grandeur and formality to the home. So behind me is kind of our entry part 2, as I call it. This was an art piece that we were able to get on a family trip abroad a bunch of years ago. Holds a really special place to us, just the memory of being on that trip all together. And this is a vintage chair that I picked up in Round Top, Texas. You'll hear me cue that one a lot. That's a big shopping destination for us. And I'll show you another really fun thing. When I originally designed this piece, it was to be functional always and to look great. And having a baseball player in the house, I'm often having to think about making sure that all the gear has its place. So one of the fun things with this piece was it was designed to look like all drawers, but it has a double height one to hide the baseball gloves in the entry. You'll hear that a lot from me. And yeah, all my beautiful things that I collect to just kind of greet you when you come in. I am the queen of mixing masculine and feminine energy. I wholeheartedly believe in that from a design philosophy always, but I think in my particular house, I tried to walk the line of balancing being able to always, first and foremost, live in this house, the beautiful life that we've created, and at the same time become a master of storing baseball, volleyball, and sporting gear that I would like to not see on a daily basis. My decorating philosophy of this house was quite a wonderful journey of bringing the things I love most together. I am a Midwestern born and raised girl from a suburban, beautiful area in Columbus, Ohio. So when people ask me about my style, I say we found the suburban street in Los Angeles that was our dream come true for a family neighborhood, mixed with the appeal of a modern London townhouse infused with European touches that I so passionately love in personal and professional life. So an amalgamation of all the things of Los Angeles, Midwest, and London. Welcome to our front formal living room. As I always say, or used to always say, this is my playroom, the space that I get to have all of the things that I collected. I think what's always interesting about older homes is they weren't built for the way most of us are living today, with big kitchens, big family rooms. So in older homes, you actually have these overscaled living rooms, which for someone like me was an absolute dream come true. So this room, we never had to touch anything. The walls were exactly as they were. What I was able to add, and I knew right away, almost a necessity to me and my life, was putting bookcases everywhere that I could so that I used the vertical space in the best opportunities and started to showcase all of the collections that I've been having for years and years. Huge passion for books, always collecting different series, different artist books, different inspirational books that I use throughout my design work, but things that just love and bring me great joy. Bookcases are such a fabulous area to play with creativity, not only in how you layer the shelving, but some unexpected kind of surprises, as I always call it. And one of my favorites is being able to hang art over a bookcase. I remember the first time I did it years ago, and my art hanger said, "You want me to hang this over the shelf?" And I said, "That's exactly where I want it." So in this room, I hung one of my favorite pieces, just small and kind of really layering to the whole look of the shelving. And you can see every little area tells a story. I remember hand carrying those out of a Paris flea market years ago and flying back on the plane. That was my husband's first entry into traveling with me and what we had to carry on. And everything else really just tells the story of a lot of beautiful family moments and beautiful treasures that I've collected throughout my journey of being a collector. Welcome to the main side of the living room. I love coffee tables. I love layering coffee tables. And I think one of the mistakes that's often made is coffee tables that start too high, because the idea, at least for me and my philosophy, is you want your coffee table as low as you can so that you can keep building up. So this is one of the fun areas in here that I'm always rearranging, getting a new book, finding a new stack, moving things around. I've always had a great passion for collecting boxes, gemstones. I don't think it's any surprise that I gravitate to things that look like jewelry. Shocker. So this collection of boxes and really the collection of stones, I love anything that's got tortoise, tiger's eye, malachite, all of these beautiful pieces have so many details. This one was vintage and I just flipped for it. It's just anything, like I said, that really has this feel of jewelry and just special details. I think layering those kind of elements to a space gives so much texture, but also the personal story of just being able to bring these beautiful things to life in a way that displays them. This bowl was the most recent addition to the table. We were on a great family trip this summer to Italy, and we were able to go to a glass factory in Murano. And this was one of those moments where it sat on the shelf and we knew we were never leaving empty-handed, but the whole family agreed on it, which is rare and at the same time was exciting. And so I think that was the latest layer to the coffee table. I love a gallery wall. I don't think I could ever stay committed to just one piece on a wall. That's a lot of discipline for me. So the gallery wall has just been a bunch of years of collecting some pieces really special. I think everything, or at least everything in my world, comes back to just the hand-drawn and the feel of something in the era of Picasso was always my greatest inspiration. So all of these pieces came from different dealers, different shows, different places that I've traveled, whether it was for work or for personal, as we've traveled in different areas. And everything really kind of I gravitate to on these vintage and gilded frames. They're so perfectly imperfect. And I think one of the things that I strive for myself, but always with clients, is it doesn't have to be new to the world to be new to your life. And I think that's the journey of collecting vintage. Having a little patina, having a little age gives that rooted feel that something really has had a life and you're part of its story. So I look at gallery walls very often like that, and kind of collecting and being able to tell a larger story. And that's what this wall is for me. As the space really was so large or so long, I knew that the space needed a few key anchors to really round it out. This wall being the first of the main area, but this area over here was kind of the second and really an important anchor for me, not only because of what it actually is, but the idea of how we could use this space. So this table was my beloved grandmother's for 50 years. I kept it in my parents' basement until we had our forever home. And I remember the day that we came in and saw this house. The family we purchased the home from had a game table in this room as well. And that was the moment that I kind of thought, this is really supposed to be where my game table is going to go. And my beloved Gigi had this table forever. I touched nothing but the upholstery on the seats and just changed the fabric on that. But this table holds so many memories of a childhood, life of our family, and a really, really special area for us. So we have Sunday game nights here, and every so often have a nice family dinner. making sure it's not something that my boys can spill all over the carpet. But this area also, I love that it's connected to the outdoor space. And in the summer, or really as we're so lucky in California to keep our doors open all the time, the indoor-outdoor flow is just such a nice area of this room, and really the anchor to this space that connects us to the outside. On the other side of the living room, the classic stone mantle and fireplace, which was such a dream come true to be able to have this, as we actually use it pretty often. But one of the most special parts of this space that I've loved, and kind of always the reminder that perfect accidents happen in things, this was originally where a window was, and because of some crazy construction where we couldn't move something and had to pivot, I said I refuse to give up my window seat, and we're just gonna make it a windowless window seat. But it quickly became one of the favorite spots that not only I use to sit on, take a quick morning call and have a coffee, but another really beautiful area for display and things that I've collected. And as we all know, this is really Frankie's house. So this was a window seat that I built for her, thinking she'd have a nice little place to sit and get to look out the window. So now I'm gonna take you outside. Let's go. So this area was nothing originally. And one of the first things we did, which I'll be able to show you when we get upstairs, was the big addition on the house, which was for my master closet and office, and happened to be right here, which gave us a covered patio below. This space has quickly become one of our family's favorite spots. We were able to put a heater in, which means we can sit out here at any time of the year and enjoy California indoor-outdoor living at its best. One of my favorite parts of this outdoor space is not only being able to have a dining area outside, which is just so great for family living, family entertaining. These lights are one of the best inventions that the industry has ever seen. They are LED, rechargeable, and they're in so many different sizes and colors. Everybody should be layering them into their house. And I would hardly call myself a gardener, but one of the things I am most proud of is that I have kept alive and thriving 2 beautiful lemon and lime trees, which are behind you. And I love to forage and drop off lemons and limes to friends, because I think it's so fun that I can always have them and find them. And they drop like a little snow here. We don't get the snow in LA, but I do get dropping lemons, and so I will happily take it. So now that you've seen the outside, I would love to show you the rest of the inside of the house. So come on. I think my style is modern aged. I am a passionate collector of things that are found. I love the journey of finding something vintage, something antique, something that has a story, and mixing it with the fabricated of something that I can find inspiration, create something new, whether it's a piece of furniture that I'm recovering or finding a little footstool and just changing the stain on it to make it the perfect match. There's such a distinct layering to a house that comes with being able to curate, and I always start my journey with curation and look at it as a living part of the process of building a home, telling a story of the places you go, the things you love, the people you love the most, and bringing that story to life. So, welcome to the dining room. As we were talking earlier, even in the living room, when you talk about scale of older homes, the dining room was always a really important room when older homes were built. So we have the luxury of having a really beautiful sized dining room, which was such a treasure to me. table that seats, what's my math, 8, but can always have more. There's a few really special things in here, one of which is a mirror that was in my husband's family for at least 3 generations that we know of. It's one of our most special things that our family got to be able to inherit. And as my husband always says, this was the mirror that his mom looked in every day. And every now and then I've wanted to try and fix something on it, and he said, don't ever do it. Let's leave it exactly as my mom saw it, and it's something that we will always treasure for that. So one of the other interesting things in this room is that the paneling, at least to our knowledge, was original to this house, and one of the other details in older homes that you do not see today is what they call dental molding, because it looks like teeth. And there were strict warnings throughout this entire home renovation that if anybody touched this dental molding, they would have to answer to me, and I might have said a few other ugly words. So this was all original detail that I'm so in love with, and we were able to just renovate. I was able to just paint all of this, and I created a custom mural that wrapped this room really, really special. And one of the kind of secret hints or winks on it is that because I did it in vinyl, it's able to be a lot more durable, and I still got all the beauty out of it that I wanted. This was a really special area. It took me a bunch of rounds to figure out what I was going to do with it, but the original way it was used was just a small display. It was a little off symmetry. It kind of never moved the needle for me, and I didn't really know what to do for a while until I started on my nightly Pinterest research, and I saw an idea for this jib door, which is the hingeless way to create a door and a little peekaboo of storage. So I'm able to keep all of my backstock china and things that I use on holidays and different entertaining, but for everyday use, it is disappeared, and this was made to match into the molding that was already here on the wall. The fireplace, again, was original, and we just were able to reface it with a really beautiful soapstone, which I love, and you'll see another hint of that in the powder room when we turn the corner for that. And one of my most special areas, things that I've just collected always for years, are these beautiful glass jars that were kind of more of a Victorian era kind of way that it started. Perfume bottles, makeup and vanity bottles they used to have on women's dressing tables. And so every time I travel, my favorite place is the flea markets in London, Portobello Market, and I've just always loved the collection of those. And so this is my little area for all of that. First of all, I will say Oprah really does change lives. In 2007, I was one of 3 people that won a contest on Oprah's, at the time, magazine, Oh at Home. And the contest was Knock Knock, It's Nate. And Nate Berkus, who we all know and love, had just really taken a rise with Oprah and had a call out in the magazine for people that were not professional designers that had done their own home. I very quietly submitted some photos and got a knock on my door that truly changed the trajectory of my life. And at the time we were living in Beverly Hills, Nate showed up with lights and cameras, and I was one of a handful of people that had been featured on this wonderful journey of being in the magazine and then flown to Chicago to be live on Oprah's show in the fall of 2007. That moment in time really created what would become the platform for my second act. As I often say, I was really given a second chance to look at my life and my creativity and materialize that into something that was always my passion and had not at that point been anything close to a profession. And what happened after that was a few years of starting this journey. And in 2012, 2012, Jen Feldman Designs was officially launched, and here I am. So off the dining room is this beautiful little quirky hallway, butler's pantry, as one would call it. It existed in the old format of the house, but nothing about it was really functional. So one of the first things we did was take doors off of all of these passageways. It just was so cumbersome, nothing that anybody needed. And the way we entertain today, modern entertaining, is everything's open format. So raised the arches, took off all the doors, and this area, one of the other really special details of the house is all of my paint colors were starting from something, but I wanted them all to be customized to something that I had never done before and something that I could say was really unique and only to this house. So this dark kind of green was created for this, and I did this really fun laboratory experiment with using the slab in a non-mitered way. And I had seen an example of kind of an etching on the edging here, and it's just one of those kind of wink surprises that was something I really had never tried before, and fell in love with it, had a remnant left over, so this was the piece that we were using. And this is just a fun area. I love collecting. I love having dishes and different things to use for entertaining. And one of my other favorite details are the grills, which are a nod to that European influence, which shows up a lot in European design. So the grills are everywhere, and it's got storage and mirror, and I've got some wallpaper that's layered in on this side. And it's just a great way to collect and display glassware and dishes and silverware and entertaining for the fun times that we use it. One of my favorites was this set that I found in Round Top, Texas, which is some Italian set of dishes, china, and I have a beautiful teapot. I guess I should start making tea. But this color was just what I fell in love with, and it had this beautiful gold rim to it. I also have a collection of splatter that seems to keep showing up. Anything hand painted, I'm your girl. So finding plates that are kind of hand kilned and just hand painted, same but different, always looking for these fun things and collecting those throughout the years. And these beautiful things, I'm not sure what ever would have been used on the tablescape for them, but I put them out because I think they're so beautiful to look at. And somebody had a lot of love. They were monogrammed in gold with all different initials on them. And when I found them, I found one that had my son's initials on it. So I knew it was meant to be. And this is part of one side of the collection. Over here is the glasses, and again, I love finding things that just have that special wink and touch, anything vintage, and these were all from different places that I've gone and traveled and found little special glasses that fill up quite beautifully. And I love when you have the grills on a cabinet like this, because you can really get such a fun peekaboo and see all your pretty things, which is exactly what I do every time I look through here. Being in the business of telling someone's life story, I think the foundation of an authentic home starts always with the people that live in the house. To respect a family, bring their story to life, whether it's talking about their travels in collections of art, photographs, books, objects that represent a moment in time, that represent the way that they felt. I often say I'm an emotional designer, and I think the commitment to the feeling of what a space provides is almost, to me, as important, if not the most important part of designing a room, creating a space, thinking about the people that are going to live in the space, and feeling the authenticity of what that feeling should be when the people that live there get to be in those spaces. And I'm really committed to that part of the process, not only for myself, but for every client that I'm given the opportunity to create for them. I always talk about the powder room as the jewel box of a home. It's the place where everybody visits, and it's the only room that nobody has to live in. So I think it's the area that you can take a risk, get comfortably uncomfortable, and for me, nobody really had to sell me on that. This space was so, I knew from the day I started designing this home, I had fallen in love with the wallpaper that we had used on a client project. And I called the company and said, I love this, I have to have it, but you have to do it for me in my color, which is always coming back to green. And I was lucky enough to work with them on both the wallpaper and the fabric, coordinating into this kind of modern toile on toile idea that I had to kind of turn that traditional idea on its side. And one of the things I love the most is, again, my passion for art. It feels like it's a Miro painting on the walls. And we were able to recreate the same pattern in this moody green and black and layer it with some really fun art and a really beautiful custom vanity. So now I'm gonna take you into the kitchen. If you had asked me if I was designing my dream house in 2019, what my priorities would have been, and you asked me again after 2020, I think a lot of us changed our mind about how we felt about the kitchen. I personally was forced to cook and learn how to cook because we were all stuck at home and there was not a lot of other options. But the kitchen became such an important space, not only for function, but design and beauty and how we were gonna live as a family in here. So welcome to our galley kitchen. As we talk about with older homes, again, things were not designed in the same way years ago. So the structure of this kitchen was really how it existed. I just changed all the functionality of it to make it work for a young family and a family with all men that needed to eat a lot during the day and multiple times a day. So the viola countertops were my absolute non-negotiable. I knew I always wanted to have this kind of detail, and it took a good long while to find these slabs. But originally, this area was where the stove was, and it just didn't have any eat-in functionality in here. And one of the things we didn't get with this house was an eat-in kitchen, but I was able to convert this island to where we sit for family dinners, or the Feldman Diner, as I call it, because I can easily serve dinner from this side of the island as we sit around it every night. But what we do have in here is the length, and one of my favorite things was this custom range that we were able to do in a really beautiful green color. I think you're seeing my patterns repeat themselves. Green is always showing up. And the green with the viola, some really fun details. The world of custom millwork has just gotten so much smarter, and areas like this where you can make it look like something and function like something else is always a thrill when you get to tuck those ideas into good design. One of the other things that I think is just so smart in kitchen design today is being able to have the chance to panel most of your appliances. I was really committed to giving us a family pantry, which tucked away pretty nicely into this cabinet here. Can't say it's my finest organizational moment, but you'll forgive me. And one of my favorite features, highest on my bucket list, was how large of a refrigerator could I get for my family? And to be able to have it paneled is just such a beautiful way to have all of the function of what you need and hidden behind the beauty of great doors and, of course, great hardware. On this side of the kitchen, not only regular functionality for everything, but to be able to have a little bit of balance between closed and open cabinetry. I always love playing with that kind of detail, and function being the most important thing to be able to get to your appliances. But this little area we kept open as a coffee bar, and I love how easy it is to get in and out of it. But my favorite feature, and this talks about knowing your patterns and your life patterns, is I never like seeing paper towels on the counter. So I said to my mill worker, how can we do something better so that I don't have to see the paper towels, or more importantly, when they run out all the time and my boys don't change it. But what we were able to do for this millwork was create a small little opening and put a rod inside the cabinet. It's actually super simple. And what you're able to get is a hidden paper towel holder, which I might be one of, if not the most proud design features that I was able to unlock. Good, bad, ugly. There's a lot of time spent in the laundry room, which for us, luckily, is right off of the kitchen. If you're gonna do laundry, you might as well make it beautiful. And I remember when I was speaking with my tile vendor and she said, you're gonna put that kind of tile in the laundry room? And I said, if I'm gonna spend the time that I need to spend in the laundry room, I want the floor that I want. So we did a beautiful checkerboard marble in here, which I love, and it takes its wear and tear. We created a really beautiful custom color in here, which was a gray that kind of had a nod and a wink to a little green undertone. And I think this, which I think they call it brown sugar, is the name of this tile, which I thought was so fitting for just kind of having its moment right off the kitchen. But this is one of my favorite details in this room because I get to see it every day, and it's just this glossy, oversized tile that we were able to pattern in a beautiful box kind of weave pattern. I love to say I thought about these things so far in advance, but I remember the day the tiles got unboxed and I said, let's play. And I think I created the pattern as I was standing in front of it that day, and that's how you break the rules when it's your own house. And then things that I kept consistent, the same faucet that was in the kitchen showed up again in the laundry room for consistency and just making all the details and the finishes kind of stay cohesive. But as we all know, I built this house for Frankie, so this is her area. And one of the things that I really thought about in terms of function, which was the reality to my everyday, was building in just the small details like this of dog food, having things be super easy to get to, and knowing your patterns of real life, which is feeding the dog twice a day and making sure that Frankie's always happy. The journey of decorating your own home, or I should say my truly first adult home for myself and my family, was a really interesting experience. I am a big rule follower and I live by that, and Jen Feldman Designs lives by the rules, and that is how we operate. For my own home, I think I was pretty committed to breaking the rules, and I really did it with the intent of pushing my creativity and my opportunity to do the things in a laboratory context that I wouldn't necessarily get the risk to do in client scenarios. So I toggled a lot between what I knew I wanted always and pushing the boundaries to making sure it was something that I had never done before for somebody else, whether it was a color on the wall or a fabric that we had used, and I wanted it but in a different way. And I think there's a real journey of your own psychology and philosophies coming to life in an experience that isn't really something you can plan how you're gonna feel about it. So I will happily say I made it to the other side, but it was quite a journey. Off the kitchen, really interconnected, is the family room. I say to everyone, and I am no different, if you are up and awake in your house, 90% of the time, a family lives in the kitchen and the family room. So this is for sure the hub of our house. Super important goal was to have an oversized sofa, and I did everything possible to get that to happen, including moving air vents on the floor, and this wall, which was originally a French door going outside, as great as that would have been, it was not giving me the family room sectional. So we converted that to a window, and as a result, I was able to get probably one of the largest sofas that we've made of recent days. And we just live in this room, and we live hard, and most of the time you'll find my younger son playing volleyball off of this couch, much to my craziness. I hear that ball going all the time. And of course, the chair that everybody loves to sit in, including Miss Frankie, which most of the time is where you'll find her perched. And then if you turn the corner and do a full 360 in here, one of the things that kept coming back into my brain as we would sit and watch football, whatever was happening, was I kept staring at this door, and it just was a door, and there was really nothing I could do about it. And one day I got an idea, and I called my mill worker and said, I've been thinking. And he said, Jen, you scare me when you've been thinking. And I said, I know, but I think you can handle this one. And I said, can you turn the door into a plate rack for me? And of course, anything's possible with good design. So I had this door remade to also be a plate rack, which gave me another thing to collect. It really took about 6 inches of depth to be able to make that happen. And this leads down to a California basement, which holds the air conditioning, and that's about it. So this is our plate wall door, and one of the first of its kind, and I love it, and I hope you do too. So now I'm going to take you upstairs to the bedrooms and a few fun surprises. So follow me. Okay, so welcome to the entryway into the primary bedroom part of the house. And I will tell you, when I first came and saw the house and this arched doorway was standing in front of me, and I said, this has to be original and no one is touching this. This was such a beautiful detail, something that you just don't see a ton of except in older houses. And I just loved it immediately. What is so fun about kind of coming into this area is this kind of whole entry walk-in vestibule. And I remember this piece I got at a vintage estate sale before we had even really started designing the house. And I think subconsciously I must have known that this was going to be its perfect landing spot. But one of the things I love about this is I was able to find a wall covering in this part of the room that's a little different than what I put into the primary bedroom space. And as you turn around here, and you can see kind of all of the beautiful details that were able to just kind of start to show up. This is usually where you find Frankie on her little window seat perch. And I was able to really put bookcases in again in this whole area here to just have all of our family photos and great things to display as you walk into the main area of the bedroom. This was a really fun and different kind of twist of the space. The bed was on the other side of the wall, and I think a lot of times, even for clients, we always talk about the rules and where you have to put a bed and where windows are, and sometimes you just got to break the rules because it's just the way that the space works better. So one of the things that we did was turn the whole bedroom orientation around, and the windows on the wall, and it's just where it is. But because I was able to turn it, I was able to create a really great seating area that most nights you'll find me watching or binging some shows, sitting on the couch, and really getting to use this room in a different capacity. I would say the color of these walls is like a sunset salmon. It's got a little pink undertone. It's really like a watercolored rust. And I was really connected to textural papers for this house. And you'll see that show up in a few of the other rooms, but it just adds a really beautiful texture without really overemphasizing color. But I kind of like to think of it as a little nod to a sunset before I go to bed every night. Now I'm going to take you into my favorite part of my home, which is the primary bathroom. This was classic renovation at its best. Everything that we were able to do in here was to really give beautiful updated materials, functionality, and just all the things coming together to create a really beautiful Zen bathroom. Always thinking about storage. So the bathroom has just some great features to it and really lovely and calming, clean, simple, and timeless the way that I kind of always wanted it to stay. This is my favorite place where you'll find me most nights, either if I'm hiding from all of my boys or deciding that I need to actually get some work done while I'm home. But this is my cloffice, which is my version of a closet office. This was the addition we put onto the house to give that room for myself that I had been dreaming of and working really hard for myself to be able to find. And the special nod to this space was my grandmother's writing desk, which I had had in my family and been keeping for the perfect spot to be able to have it. And I just love that I feel like she's always with me, but that I get a beautiful place to sit. And one of the nods to her that I love is I kept her original upholstery on the back side of the cushion of her writing desk chair. And every now and then I just flip it over, but I get to have a little piece of her with me all the time. And this was her lamp that she had in her house as well. And I just made a new shade to kind of make it mine. But this is my cloffice, and this is where I love to find all of my beautiful things. So glad I could show you. I love that I feel differently about different areas of my home all the time. I think that exploration is still a really active part about how I feel about living here. I would say overall, I love the palette of my home and the way it makes me feel. I think in a place like California, we get beautiful sunshine and green grass and blue skies all year round. And I really wanted our home to have a mood and a feeling that had a seasonal Midwestern New York City feel, so that we could really move through our home in a way that I think we don't often get to move through seasons in a place like Los Angeles. A little moody, a little fresh, a little deeper with richer colors, and just kind of balancing all of that together. The word home means comfort. The word home means family, and the word home means authenticity to a space and a place in life that centers you and makes you feel safe. And I love that that's how I feel about my own home. And I love that I have given the opportunity to create that feeling for others.
Hi Homeworthy, I'm Kira. Welcome to my home in Los Angeles, California. I'd love to show you around.
You're watching Homeworthy, where we believe every home has a story. Before today's episode, click the join button below to support all of the storytelling we do on this channel. Our growing community of members help to directly fund more videos so we can capture these extraordinary homes from around the world. So join today to receive early and exclusive access to new Homeworthy videos.
Welcome to the living room. So this is a craftsman style house built in 1923. I feel like this house found me more than I found it. My husband and I were moving from Canada to LA, and it just so happened that my brother and sister-in-law were also looking to move, and they were looking for a new house. We were hoping to buy, but we figured we would end up renting. And my brother and sister-in-law, they found this property, and it actually has two houses on it, and you have to buy them together. You have to buy the whole property with both houses. which it turns out not that many people want, surprisingly. So we saw the house, we all fell in love with it, and we got really lucky and we got it, and now we live on this property, and my brother and sister-in-law are right beside us, and it's been amazing so far. So this is actually the first house, the first and only house I've lived in LA, so I consider myself very lucky. The best thing about this whole house is that it came with so much personality. Every room is a little bit different, and I didn't want to make the whole house totally uniform and cohesive, so I kind of just leaned into the personality of every room. So as you can see, this room has wood paneling and vaulted ceilings, so my mind kind of went to like a cabin. So what I wanted this room to feel like is that we're at like a cozy cabin in the mountains. So that's kind of how the decor in this room looks. So I used to think that you had to spend a lot of money on art, but a lot of my favorite things hanging in our house are actually very inexpensive. So these black and white prints here were $5 each at an antique store, and they're super cool. These are stills from 1950s action movies, and they suit the room really well. This here is another vintage find, and you can see the detail of the frame. It's hand carved and just super, super beautiful. We get questions about this area quite a bit. It's our little vinyl area, so we have all of our vinyls displayed in here, and then our record player, our speaker, and this is a Hay design lamp. I believe it's Scandinavian. A cool part of this room is this ladder that goes up to the crawl space up here. I'm curious what they used it for back then, but we just use it for storage right now. In this corner, you see a lot of the kind of Western accents that go with the cabin theme. So up here we have a vintage horseshoe and a cowboy portrait. We have a Route 66 bookend and a little silver plate that has horses on it. This is kind of my booze and books corner. So I was on the hunt for a fireplace screen for a really long time, and nothing was suiting the room, nothing was jumping out at me, and I just found this brass one on Facebook Marketplace, and it has the shell detailing. I'm a sucker for shells, I'm a sucker for kind of coastal items, so I found this, fell in love with it, went and picked it up, and I love how it works in the room. Over here, it's definitely hard to pick a favorite vintage item I've ever found, but this marble coffee table is just amazing, and I think it's something that we'll have forever. So it's definitely up there in my top 5. This rug is from Ruggable. It matches the tones of the coffee table perfectly, and honestly, we kind of have to have a Ruggable rug in our house because we have 2 dogs, and they drag in dirt sometimes, so. Cabinet items, we have the tennis rackets, and I just found this at an estate sale the other day. It is a frame in the shape of a boat's steering wheel. It's super fun. So this is our main living room and where we hang out the most when we have people over, but our second living room, or our family room, is where me and my husband and my dogs hang out the most. Let me show you. So welcome to the family room. Like I said, this is where we spend most of our time. I was so excited that this house had a built-in and kind of like a breakfast nook because I've always wanted that. So my husband and I, we eat at this table all the time. We both work at this table sometimes. And as you can see, the room gets amazing natural light, which is really important for me. I work in content creation, so I'm very lucky in that sense. And then I'm also the founder of a home decor line called Villa Francesca. These throw pillows here are from my own line, and yeah, they suit the room perfectly, I think. So all the patterns in my line are inspired by something, mostly by vintage items. So this one here is a classic floral print, but it's actually inspired by vintage wallpaper. So you can actually see some really amazing vintage wallpaper in this room. The house came with it, of course, but it's one of my favorite things in the whole house. So the theme of this room is kind of English countryside, and that was largely inspired by the wallpaper that the house came with. So I really, again, just wanted to lean into the foundation of the room. So I just went with something bright and airy because we spend so much time in this room. I just want it to feel kind of happy and comfy. So yeah, when I saw this wallpaper, I was very excited. I would never dream of getting rid of it. I will say we get the occasional comment that someone is surprised that we kept it because it's a little bit grandma-ish, I suppose, but I love it. So this coffee table is vintage Moroccan brass, and the rug is a vintage Turkish rug. The colors are very Victorian though, which you don't often see in Turkish rugs, so I thought that was really cool, and it goes so well with the room. As you can see, I love throw pillows. This is a mix of a bunch of things. We've got some vintage, we've got Ralph Lauren, of course. Some of these are just fabrics that I bought downtown LA in the fabric district and then just made pillows that match the room. And then these are more from my own line, Villa Francesca. This little curtain was actually my grandmother's, and it fits this window perfectly. So as you can tell, I love vintage items, but I do like to balance it out with modern pieces here and there. So things like this acrylic side table, and I've just gone and stuffed it with a bunch of books. So when we moved in, I was a different person, I guess, and we bought a blue velvet couch, and I did like it for a little bit, but as it turns out, it was not what I wanted to keep. So this is actually covered in a slip cover, and it works perfectly. People are usually surprised. This little corner is just a bunch of vintage items that I found. The Rose Bowl Flea is an iconic flea market in LA, and both this ballerina print and this brass egret are from there. I try to go every month, and I always have great finds from there. So my husband, he loves sports and he loves film, so having a giant TV is kind of a non-negotiable in our house. So in terms of what inspires me when decorating, as you can tell, I really do like to be inspired by the charm of a house. I feel like personally I have a lot of styles, even in my clothing. Sometimes I'm very girly, very feminine. Sometimes I dress a little bit more like 70s inspired with suedes and browns. So I don't really like to have one specific style or to narrow it down too much. And that really is the best thing about this house, is that I kind of get to portray my different personalities and my different styles in all the different in all the different rooms. But I find inspiration in so many places, as you can probably tell, in a lot of things that are vintage. And I actually just recently got a big box of old Architectural Digest magazines from someone's grandmother. So these are all from the 90s, and there's some really, really cool images in them. There's one right here as well. I really, really love the cover of this one. I feel like it's honestly so modern still. Next, we'll go into the primary bathroom. So the bathroom came like this. The previous owners had incredible taste, and we're really lucky we didn't have to do any major renos, at least not so far. So it's covered from ceiling to floor in this beautiful blue tile. It's so fun. And we have this clawfoot tub, and I have to say I wasn't a bath person before, but I had to become a bath person once I realized I had this tub. I really love when a room just makes an impact. So once again, I was so obsessed with this bathroom when I saw it, and the blues are they just make so much sense for a bathroom. And I added this sailboat painting, which I thought was kind of funny and a little bit meta, right over top of the bathroom. But this is really just a calming space with a book and a candle lit. Taking a bath in here, it's very serene, and it's very nice. The house came with the stained glass as well. I believe it was original to the house. Super beautiful, goes with the tile so well. And kind of a funny story, this bathroom looks out into our deck area, and this glass used to just be normal glass. not totally see-through. So if someone was using the bathroom in here and you were having dinner outside, you would kind of see a little bit too much. So I had to add this kind of frosted glass feature to give people a little bit more privacy. We also have this seat cover that is a little bit polarizing. People either love it or they hate it, but I think it's very fun. And I think I mentioned earlier, I really love kind of seaside and coastal themes. So I think it's great. Now we'll head into the kitchen. So once again, the house came like this. It came with the pink wallpaper and the pink tile, and I have to say I'm very thankful that my husband is not afraid of a little bit of pink because I love this kitchen. It's very happy, you get lots of natural light coming in, and when you're cooking or prepping or cleaning, you can actually see directly outside to the deck. So if people are hanging out there, you can even open this window and chat through the window. So in a kitchen, I feel like one of the best ways to show your personality and your personal style is through open shelving and kind of displaying your favorite items. So throughout my house, I have lots of plates displayed, but I have plates and my favorite olive oils, my favorite cookbooks, and I really feel like you can see a lot of personality come through in items like that. Both my husband and I, we both love to cook and we love to host. So working with a very small kitchen has been interesting. It has been a learning curve, but we really make do. We actually have hosted Thanksgiving 2 years in a row. And we have pizza parties every couple weeks. We have a pizza oven on the deck, and we mostly cook, I would say, Italian food and Mediterranean inspired food. So I don't plan on getting rid of the wallpaper or changing out the pink tile, but because we love to cook, we do want to expand on our kitchen in the future. So we plan on using this additional room, probably knocking down this wall and then adding a full wall of additional counter space right in here. So when we saw this house, this room was actually staged as kind of a small dining room or a breakfast nook. But again, because we need more counter space, we need more room to prep and cook, we decided to just add temporary counter space in here. So we have a butcher block, and then one of my favorite pieces in the whole house, this was also from the Rose Bowl Flea. It is a antique washing stand, and it has this beautiful, beautiful blue and white tile and this marble, and it has been a staple in this house since I got it. This little area is where I display all my functional but cute kitchen items. So things like my silver butter dish and my cutting boards and more olive oil. This stained glass lamp is something that I found recently at a vintage store, and I just had it hung up, and it suits this little corner so perfectly. Again, this is such a happy place to just be prepping and cooking, and I really love being in here. So again, I love open shelving, I love glass cabinets, and I really use this as a way to display some of my favorite vintage glassware and serveware. So these are super fun, also from the Rose Bowl Flea. They're kind of like 60s Palm Springs style. We use them for Arnold Palmers in the summer. This is my favorite teacup. It has 4-leaf clovers on it. And then I have lots of fun floral plates like these and this, and crystal glassware is my favorite thing to drink out of. So this plate is actually from Lucca, Italy, which is a small town not too far from where my Italian family is originally from. And it's also not far from where my husband and I recently got married this summer. Now we'll head over to the newest space in our house, which is the deck. So as I mentioned, we love hosting, we love throwing dinner parties. And when we moved in, we didn't have much outdoor space, so building a deck was kind of a top priority for us. So when we bought the house, you can see actually the wood, you can see the old wood here, and it was just a narrow little walkway as well as a gravel pathway going this way. So you could just barely fit a dining table. So we just built this in the fall and we use it constantly. So my husband and I, we love to host dinner parties. We usually collab on the food, but I love doing the tablescapes. So I usually have a theme, whether it's pizza night and it's a totally Italian theme, or it's just like a nice lunch we're having. I would do something more like a blue and white coastal theme. But really, I would say we have people over every single week. And we also have guests come to stay with us in LA all the time. So having a place to hang out outside is really important for us. And we're also from Canada, so making use of the outdoor space throughout the entire year is amazing, because in Canada you usually only get a couple months of that. So I don't know if you noticed inside, but we actually don't have an oven. And because we like to cook, we've really had to improvise and find new and creative ways to cook. So we use our barbecue all the time. And I recently bought my husband a pizza oven for his birthday, and we've been using this constantly. He's really nailed the homemade dough, and it's probably one of our main dinner parties that we have now. So home means to me making it somewhere that I really want to be. Don't get me wrong, I love traveling, I love going out, I love trying new restaurants, but I really am always aiming to make my home feel like the place that I want to be and feel like my own little haven, and also somewhere that my friends and family want to be. We're really lucky. We have people come visit us all the time. Actually, just last month we had 3 straight weeks of guests coming to stay with us, and that's definitely the norm. And people, they often just say that they love being here, they love hanging out, they love coming to our dinner parties, and that means everything to me. That's just exactly what I'm going for. And you know, our house isn't huge or anything, but I think it's very comfy and it's a very kind of happy and cozy place to be. So I never would have dreamed that we'd live beside family. I feel like in this day and age, that's so hard to come by. So we're very, very lucky that we live beside my brother and sister-in-law. We hang out with them almost every day, I would say. And it's just like having a little built-in community. So it's really lovely. So we have a little fire pit area over here, and this is where people usually gather while we're still cooking. They grab a drink and they hang out over here. And then as you can see, the backyard extends up there. We have a ton of garden space, and we actually have grapefruit trees and lemon trees. So when we need something, we just run out and pick it from the tree, which is really awesome. And we have 2 dogs, and they absolutely love having this giant green space to run around in. Now I'm going to take you upstairs to our primary bedroom. Watch your step, it's very steep. Welcome to the bedroom. So for me, I always want my bedroom to feel very calm and peaceful. I never want it to feel cluttered or even like it has like too much color. So as you can tell, the theme is kind of blue and white. It's kind of coastal and seaside. And the reason I went with that theme is because the wraparound windows really make me think of a cottage or even a tree house. But the windows, as well as the walls were previously wood paneling, as you can tell, and now they're painted white. And it kind of reminds me of shiplap and gives that sort of seaside feel. So I personally love the coastal look. I don't think I could commit to an entire house of that aesthetic, but I really love it for the bedroom, and I really find it very peaceful and like it's somewhere I want to be. So this little mini bench is from Olive Ateliers, which is kind of an iconic shopping spot in LA. And then I've just outfitted it with a couple seaside inspired items like my sailboat and my shell. And then this is a vintage frame and a vintage candle sconce. My husband says this looks medieval. And then the photo in here is from Capri, Italy, which is one of my favorite spots. For bedding, I always love linen. I just find it so airy and light and comfy. So I would say my bed is usually covered in linen. And then these are more pillows from my brand Villa Francesca, and they are inspired by Delft tiles or Mediterranean tiles. So this is one of my favorite corners in the house. I absolutely love lamps. I don't know if you could tell, but I think this one is my favorite one. It's a vintage Ralph Lauren lamp. And then I have it matched with some plates on display up here. And this one is from Maine and it has a lobster on it. And fun fact, lobster rolls are my favorite food. So it goes with the coastal vibe in here. The rug in here is just from Zara Home. I actually find that they have really great rugs. And the rug on the other side is from the Citizenry, and the quality of their rugs is always amazing. So I recently found this painting at an estate sale, and it looks a lot like El Matador Beach in Malibu, which is one of my favorite beaches here. So I was really excited to find it, and it was actually only $5, which is crazy. A cool feature in this room is this built-in mirror, and people are always very surprised, but this door leads to a bathroom. It just looks like it's a closet, but it's a bathroom. But this kind of built-in arched mirror is very beautiful. So when we moved in, this was kind of a nothing room. There was nothing in it, and I decided to make it kind of a vanity room. So I added this toile wallpaper that goes with the rest of the bedroom, a little vanity console, and it's just where I keep my perfume and some of my jewelry and other trinkets. And it's actually just a walkway into our closet, which is right through there. Honestly, my best advice for sourcing vintage is to just do it a lot. Whether you're going to estate sales or thrift stores or flea markets, I do find that you just have to have patience and you have to go pretty often and just kind of keep your mind open. Also be aware of what you're looking for and what you need in your house, but I do feel like just like having an open mind and sifting through things, and you're more than likely gonna find something awesome.
Thanks for watching. Be sure to go to homeworthy.com for exclusive content, shopping guides, and so much more.
Hey, Homeworthy, I'm Patrick. You're here at my home in Los Angeles. Come on in.
You're watching Homeworthy, where we believe every home has a story. Be sure to visit our website, homeworthy.com, to discover amazing furniture, art, accessories, and more, all handpicked by our editors to help transform your house into a home. All of the items are inspired by the episodes you see here on Homeworthy. Enjoy!
My name is Patrick Bernance, and we are in our lovely home in Los Angeles, California, in the northeast section of town. So the original structure of the house was built in 1890, and it's considered a pyramidal Victorian. So essentially, if you're looking at it in the plan, it's a perfect square. The house, when we bought it, was essentially a wreck. It had windows covered in plexi, linoleum 2 layers deep throughout the house, broken windows, popcorn ceilings. If it was crazy and gnarly, you name it, it was here. My wife and I were looking for a home that, you know, could be renovated, but also be a great project for us. We're both Californians, and so we were looking for something that really exuded that older California feel that we grew up with. And a lot of those properties are being demolished for larger homes. And so we really wanted something that was historic and had a great garden that we could spend a lot of our time outside in. So when we found this property, it was, you know, I think we both kind of turned to each other and just said, I think this is it. But, you know, we were also younger and a little more full of energy. So we don't have a proper entry foyer in this house. When you come in through the front door, you're essentially brought into the living space. This house is relatively small, and so we've really tried to anchor some of the program and furniture into the kind of perimeter to get as much flow and circulation as possible. One of the spaces I love the most is the living space. Even after we did all of the immediate necessary things to the house to get it insured, one of the first things that we did was work with a good friend who runs a furniture company, and he built this beautiful wraparound mahogany furniture piece that we've had for the last 10 years. And I will say that we had this piece before we really had a dining table and dining chairs and probably a comfortable bed. But this was essentially the thing we really wanted, just because it's so magical, it's so comfortable, and it's just a real focal point and kind of center of the household. The kids now kind of run back and forth. Normally there's toys being thrown left and right. And it's really a great spot to also, once everyone goes to sleep, to relax and, take a look at the view. This window was originally not here. It was just a blank wall, which is kind of crazy. But this original fretwork was here. So there was this really beautiful detail that included, these small little pinpoints along with some of the molding that we recreated to help tie in the piece together. So now, the fun part is that if there's a storm or, if it's a really windy day, the family likes to hang out here, read, and then just take a look at everything that's going on outside. It's just a really nice, cozy little spot to hang out at. This coffee table was made specifically for this space. It was designed by myself, but then made in downtown LA with a great furniture fabrication studio. It's a beautiful salvage piece of old white oak, but then it was ebonized to kind of give this kind of darker, chiseled effect, as well as kind of relating to early Monterey furniture. The great thing about being surrounded by this really lovely garden is we don't really have to go to the flower market that often. We can literally just go outside and see what's in season. So right now, everything, our oranges and limes are going off. And so we have this, beautifully trimmed bouquet from our orange tree, which was also one of the original things that was a pretty strong selling point for the house. When you've got oranges and limes that, are on an 80-year-old tree, it's a good indicator that you might want to live here. So because we are a family with 2 young children and we also like watching TV, we do have a TV in this house, but everything, because it's smaller, is hidden. And so we created this really nice kind of tucked away storage unit. So the TV, when the kids want to watch it, is just right here. And then at the end of the day, when I don't want to see it, it just hides. So the floors in the house are all original. They were covered by about 2 layers of linoleum. So it took quite a bit of time to kind of peel everything back, scrape it, take off all the adhesive, and then get them down to this beautiful kind of warm honey color that you see now. What's nice is that we've used a lot of the wood flooring that was in the back kitchen, and then we've feathered it in other areas where the addition is. So it's nice that there's no delineation between the old and the new. It's all woven together nicely. We were looking at the existing details throughout the house and really trying to look for ways just to either replicate them, bring them back, and, as an architect designer, my goal is to not create an addition that feels like a monument to the larger design. It's meant to feel cohesive and blend in with the original structure. And so I looked a lot at older typologies of sleeping porches, bungalows, just to find ways to really, tie this new addition with the older structure. A lot of the materials that are throughout the house are either salvaged materials or replicated moldings, or we've utilized details that would have been used in the Victorian era. You'll see transom windows throughout the house just to bring in more natural light. My wife and I bought this home over 10 years ago. We were in our early 30s and, young, full of optimism and energy. So it was a long process at first just to get it to a place where we could even get it insurable. We had to put in a new foundation, and after that point we were, we had kind of spent a lot of our budget. So, we were sleeping on a mattress in the bedroom. You know, the back end of the house didn't have a running faucet. You know, so it's been a long time coming, but about 3 years ago, we finally got to a point where we could get it to the final full kind of, get it through the finish line. So, you know, we spent a lot of time just, you know, creating the addition and replicating some of the detailing. And now we live here with our 2 youngest kids, Palmer and Inez. So this space is an extension of the living space. We tend to call it the den. It originally was much lower, covered in glitter paint, linoleum, and kind of, I mean, there was cardboard on the walls. And so we opened everything up just so it would feel like a larger extension of the living space. There was an original wood stove moment in this, but the stove was so old that we needed to replace it. But this is also a great moment where we hang out as a family. You know, a really relaxing thing to do is to just light a fire at the end of the day, you know, even have dinner on the floor, and it's just a really lovely, magical moment together with the kids. We are a family of 4. Toys are generally pretty much scattered around, but we do have some really kind of larger storage components in the house where things kind of can get tucked away. So when we have friends and family over, it doesn't just feel like, you know, a play zone. So larger closet has the toy section where we put things away at the end of the day. But, you know, if you would catch us here, you know, on any regular day, toys would be around, kids would be building blocks, and it's, you know, it is what it is in a small house. But there are very specific areas where things can get tucked away at the end of the day. This section right here was originally the porch of the house, and the original owners ended up pushing it out just to make the house slightly larger. So you'll see that we kept moments where you see the existing siding throughout the property. There was an existing niche here, so we decided to put a beautiful black walnut bookshelf in here. These books are not decorative. These are all books that I've had either since I was a really young kid, all throughout college, and we use them all the time. So the kids will come, grab a book. If they want to, you know, our oldest is starting to become a little curious about what I do for a job. So it's fun for him to look at homes and, you know, buildings and just kind of get creative. Because it's a smaller house and we're always kind of, you know, fighting for inches, we use the floor as a real surface to really kind of sprawl out on. So a lot of times, you know, these giant floor pillows, you know, we'll just come, hang out, light a fire, or just, you know, watch TV on it. And it's a really nice way if you don't want to sit on the sofa to really kind of get down, hang out with the kids, and just kind of get cozy and casual. Because it's California, you know, we don't use it obviously in the summer, but throughout the fall and winter, this thing is on pretty much all the time, just because I find it's very relaxing. It lets out a really great, you know, smell and sound, and it's just a nice way to, you know, produce a little bit of heat without having to turn on the heater. And it's just a final, you know, at the end of the day when you've, you know, written a million emails and you're not checking your phone anymore, you can just light a fire and relax. So my wife is a big fan of Monterey furniture, and you see it in a lot of Spanish and arts and crafts homes. She found this piece at a great salvage yard and decided to give it to me as a gift many years ago. And so it's just a really nice spot to kind of hang, and it's just a nice kind of token of our relationship. My wife's family was good friends with the late artist Peter Alexander. This was one of his prints from the LAX series, and it was a series done in the early 90s, and it was his exploration with paint and, you know, all of these aerial, kind of famous aerial sites throughout Los Angeles. So this is actually called Gardenia, and this is meant to be a section. This is meant to be a section of Palos Verdes and Gardenia at night when you're coming in from LAX. We looked at different types of kind of California typologies when it was coming to the design. We did not want this to feel like an extremely minimalist home with, you know, out any color. so much of our connection is to the environment outside. So we try to draw upon colors, from the garden and from local woods and local materials for the design and styling. A lot of the woods are, from within Southern California. A lot of the dyed leather is from California, and a lot of the furniture that was either designed by me using local materials or sourcing furniture that was from, early Los Angeles designers. Even though my wife isn't a designer, she was trained as a photography minor, and so she does have a great eye. At the end of the day, it is a true collaboration just because we're both partners in this together. And so we're, even though I'm, running a design business and designing furniture and homes and spaces, I'm constantly in communication with her when I have an idea. So if you follow me, we'll go into the kitchen and dining space. So the kitchen was originally a much smaller space, about a third of what you see now. And the ceilings were, essentially as high as the top of my head. And if you jumped on the floor, the whole structure shook. And so essentially the whole thing just needed to be demolished and rebuilt. So we ended up building this large new addition and tried to maximize on space and light. This is a very user-friendly kitchen, but it's also a kitchen that we use all the time. It's not just for show. So one of the nice things that I think we really love is that because we have all this back storage here, we actually put our refrigerator in drawers adjacent to the range. So if you're cooking, you can very quickly grab what you need, plop it down on the countertop, and then use it very quickly. So when we're making meals for the kids, or if we're entertaining, it's within very close range to, start cooking. So if we're cooking, we're probably doing something pretty quickly. So like an easy broiled salmon or a roast chicken, just throwing in some veggies with an easy salad, just because we're always pressed for time. But we are always hanging out in the kitchen. The nice thing is that when we have guests in this space, if I'm here and trying to assemble things, I can have a conversation with them. My back is not to them. At the same time, I can look out at the beautiful garden and view, and it just makes for a really nice, energy between guests, myself, and the family. One of the things that we tried to do in this space with the millwork and cabinetry is tie it back to some of the original detailing in the original structure. And so we had an old millworker near downtown replicate the original wainscoting, and then we recreated some of the detailing above to just create kind of this tie of, the bands with the shelving. And what's nice is that it still feels contemporary, but it doesn't feel so modern and cold that it doesn't relate to the rest of the house. But we have, it's a small space, so everything that we need to access is pretty much here. We're not, these are all things that are used frequently. They're not just for decor. So these cabinets get a lot of usage. We did splurge a little bit, and for new parents, you can relate. We do have a small little section that ends up being a little bar. This gets more use when we're entertaining, not on a just daily basis. But it's nice because you can see that, because these cabinets are on pivot hinges, they can fold completely back, and you get easier access to either pantry items, glass items, or tequila. So the shell is a main focal point in the bar. This is something my wife's family has had for a very long time. My wife's grandfather was in the war, and he actually collected these when he was in the South Pacific, and it was something that the family has had for a long time. And now it has a very special spot in our bar. So my wife and I are collectors of pottery. We do go down to Mexico quite frequently, and some of the pottery that we have here is this beautiful green Adzompa pottery, and it just has this really incredible green hue to it. We've been collecting this for a while now, but they're just really beautiful interesting objects with just this lovely green, dark green hue. And we use this quite often for serving and, for entertaining. But it's such a great color that works really nicely within the house with this darker walnut. And, we have some really other interesting pieces. This is a fish that my wife found. This gets a lot of use. And yeah, this I would say is more of our entertaining ceramic ware, and our go-to is in the other cabinet. But again, these cabinets get quite a bit of use on a daily basis. Even though the original kitchen was not very functional, it did have some really wonderful existing wood floor. We use that wood floor in other parts of the addition and feather that into the existing sections of the wood floor. What we really wanted in this space, because it was going to get a lot of wear and tear, is using a really beautiful salvage tile. This was a really great product that we found through Exquisite Surfaces, and it just has this really beautiful reddish, dark tint to it. We ended up creating this sort of band pattern effect with it, just so it wasn't a perfect grid. But it's nice because it really kind of goes off the existing kind of openings of the doors and kind of, focuses everything on the view outside. So because we have smaller drawer refrigerators, we still have a lot of kid art and just reminders of things. And so we ended up putting a large cork wall on the back end of the kitchen. We didn't decide to go with any crazy Italian marble or stone, but what's really nice about the cork is that the tiles have this, their own natural pattern that's from just the organic kind of, characteristics of the cork. So, we put recipes up here, kid art, even some of our ultrasound photos just of the children, and then artwork from friends and family. It's nice because we just really kind of create a collage of our life on this back wall. These two large terracotta vessels are actually bowerware pottery, and the interesting thing about bowerware is that it was made in Los Angeles at the turn of the century. They were very interested in recreating more kind of classical vessel shapes and sizes. The other interesting thing is that they were actually made right down the hill. So Bauer's pottery factory was 2 blocks away from the house. So a lot of the material is actually clay from the surrounding area. And we just love them because they have a great warm hue to them. They work really nicely with the wood. And it's nice to have something that was literally made 100 years ago, 2 blocks away. Again, some of the nice things about having a large garden is that you can just pick and choose from whatever's in season. So some of these objects are from just our garden. These larger chestnut branches were just, from a tree that we planted a few years ago down the hill. But it's nice because, we have this kind of moment of compression when you come into the dining kitchen space. And so we try to use branches as a way to gain some height, just visually. And then the rest of the height is the release towards the view. When we knew that we were going to get the house to its final kind of over the finish line, I knew that there were several pieces of furniture that were really important to do an exploration and study with, using local woods and materials. Some of our dining chairs are actually made from a local sycamore that's from a few miles away that was salvaged. We also used dye from cochineal from the garden. The cacti in the garden produces a little fungi, and if you dry it, you can then dye things with it. It historically was used for clothing, but for the past few years, we were just kind of doing studies with, could you actually apply that to wood? And yeah, you'll probably see within the house, there's not a lot of plastic. A lot of the materials are leather, metal, wood, and glass. So things that, are better for the environment and just kind of harken back to the time period of the house. My background is in hotel design, and with that, there's a lot of waste that comes from that. So when I established my practice in 2019, the goal was to use materials that were biodegradable, locally sourced, just because so much of the industry, is, you can have things shipped from all over the world that has an effect on carbon footprints. We really strive to minimize the amount of offshore and, carbon footprint materials for our projects. So we don't have a formal dining space that's a separate formalized dining room. It just bleeds in to, from the kitchen essentially. But what's nice is that we have this really beautiful view that we tried to capture that was not really apparent or obvious in the previous iteration. But what we wanted to do was create this really lovely long wraparound banquette, so you were really thrust to the outer perimeter of the house, and then when we open the windows, you're really feeling like you're protected, but you're still, experiencing the outdoor garden. We tried to match the color of this, kind of dark green stain, and then we matched it with the banquette, just so everything feels consistent and continuous without feeling like a separate piece of furniture. We do spend most of our time right here. This is a beautiful rose uniaki light that just produces this really great amber glow at the end of the day, so it has this really, fun, warm hue when we turn it on. The dining chairs and dining table were all designed by me and made locally. They're again a combination of white oak and sycamore. We used agave fiber for the actual woven seats, just as a break from the texture. But it's just a nice blend of, wood and tile and ceramic and woven natural rope. It's just a good hierarchy of materials. So with the dining table, we created this small little aperture at the end, this hole essentially, that you can either use for larger branch bouquets, or we also use it as an ice bucket. So, we'll chill wine in there when we're having, friends over. And it's just nice because it's, you're not having to have, we're fighting again for space. And so sometimes when you bring things down to a lower level, you can really maximize how many things you can get on the table. And visually it's nice because you're left with just focusing on the garden and the view versus a lot of arrangements on the table. Even though I'm a designer, I will say that my two favorite things to do is either to cook in the kitchen, which we do all the time. We are a family that cooks, and we spend so much time outside in the garden. So, I'm not a big person that likes to go, jogging or going to the gym, but I like to just get outside and kind of work in the garden. So you'll normally find me outside, either planting something in our vegetable garden or, tending to the many weeds that shoot up, and also just spending time with the family out there. Our oldest son loves to kind of get out there and just help me water or, pick weeds, and it's fun for the family. Not picking the weeds, but just being out there together. I know we've mentioned this a few times before, but our garden plays a really important and integral part to how we live in this house. So I'd love to be able to share it with you, so follow me. So one of the selling points of the house was this incredible garden. A lot of these older mature trees were here, but I will say that the rest of it was a combination of old oil barrels, probably a dozen abandoned, automobiles, and just essentially buried garbage. We still occasionally, when we're planting something, we'll find, the remnants of an old toaster, or just yesterday while we were cleaning up, we found a collection of old forks and an axe end. So, there's always surprises in this garden. But I think the thing that's so magical is that so many of these trees in Northeast Los Angeles are really old. So this palm tree is over 100 years old. I mean, it just towers above the house. This is our, magnificent lime tree, which, we use all the time for margaritas. So again, kind of have to have one of these. This staircase was originally a concrete ramp with a broken bird feeder. And, up until a few years ago, it was still that. But what's nice is that we were able to find some really beautiful Mexican handmade bricks and then utilize stone underneath the concrete ramp for all of these planters. And so we were utilizing most of the materials that were already present on the property. And what's great is that it just feels, like one solid palette, and it's just a clean, warm kind of place to hang. All of the jade, all of the aloes and agave, everything that you see that's essentially blooming with a floral, we planted. The trees were here, but all of these agaves, we planted ourselves. So some are just getting ready to explode again with blooms. A lot have already kind of, you're beginning to see them expiring, but they're so incredible. My wife and her brother, took these 2 larger agaves years ago and crammed them into the back of their car from a friend's house, and then we planted them. So, I will say a lot of these plants were given by friends who just didn't want them anymore, and, we had enough space that, we gladly were gonna put them in the garden. So if we're not dining inside and if the weather permits, we are outside most of the time. So we're either entertaining and eating here and the kids are just running around. But it's just a really nice, outdoor patio. We're protected with this beautiful loquat canopy. So it creates this really nice little intimate space, but we still get really nice, natural daylight. We have a little bit of privacy and, we can see downtown LA. So it's a really nice little spot. Unless it's absolutely freezing, which it rarely is, and even if it's raining, we're probably outside 90% of the time. What's nice about the space is that we're in such close proximity to downtown, only 1.5 miles, but you wouldn't know it living up in this little sanctuary. So, the kids have a great place to kind of be close to the city, but they have their own little magical garden that they can, explore, go on adventures in, and just, do all those things that kids need to do. I think the thing that is probably the biggest showstopper is in the addition in the kitchen, we really tried to get as much natural light into that space, but we utilized a series of exterior shutters that were made from salvaged redwood. And what that does is it's a feature that acts as both a way to, filter out, bugs, and, we can still maintain kind of a climate control system. It's also great because we have this beautiful wraparound bench, which is beautiful and great, but we also have a toddler that's, learning how to walk. So when you close the screen, it's nice because we can, everyone is safe and, we can have dinners, and it's a really kind of romantic spot to hang out with friends and the family. So again, because it's a really small home in a small space, we've tried to find clever moments of utilizing as much space as possible, but also hiding kind of, doors and cabinetry so it didn't feel overwhelming with how we utilize things. So this at one point was our bedroom, and we just completely demolished it and reconfigured it so it would be this really nice primary bath. We just have this really beautiful salvaged piece of California granite that we took from the Sierras and then had it fashioned into this beautiful back slab, kind of backsplash piece. All of the wood is sycamore, local sycamore, and it was made into these really clever little shutters that then kind of sneak, private little areas for mirror, while also maintaining some privacy from the neighbor. We didn't have enough space to do a proper separation between shower and tub, but what's really nice is that, when my wife and I were kids, you'd see this in a lot of 70s and 60s home. You'd have a really cool drop-down tub shower combo. And so that's what we did because we had to, create an extension for the new foundation anyway. So this is, essentially our shower tub. This is also very popular with the the kiddos. But what's nice is that you're able to just kind of open this window to the garden and have this little indoor-outdoor moment, which is really special. We have this really beautiful sycamore paneling that's throughout the space, and what's nice is that when you come down, it feels like an architectural millwork panel moment, but in reality, you can kind of sneak in to the primary closet, which is a little messy these days. But what's nice is that, because of these special pivot hinges, we have a full-length mirror that you can use when you're trying to rush out, to make sure you look appropriate for the day. And then otherwise, we just keep that closed because it's kind of messy. I feel like as long, what I try to tell clients is it's easy to buy a home and automatically want to make all these changes, but it really, takes some living in just to understand how you're going to utilize the space. And so, in essence, we lived here for a decade until we created this. And so I think as long as you're true to what your needs are and, you don't follow trends, you really find the things that create magic in your life and joy, then it's gonna be transparent with the furniture you choose, the art that you live with, and how you occupy the space. So the primary bedroom was part of the addition included in the renovation. We lined everything in the sycamore paneling just to create this really nice kind of warm, cozy womb. But then we used some of the older detailing from the original part of the house and brought it in here. So you can see it with the upper trim molding here, and then some of the shutter details that you see throughout the house were also added here, but we just did it out of sycamore. A lot of built-ins just to kind of get as much storage as possible. And what is a bookcase can also turn into a small work surface, just if I need to write a few emails throughout the day or kind of sign off at the end of the evening. Because this was the addition, we needed wood flooring, but this is all of that beautiful Douglas fir that was originally in the kitchen that we had removed, sanded, and then feathered back into the original section of the house. So again, it just feels really consistent without it feeling, like an homage or a time capsule to, 1890. A lot of the walls throughout the bedroom and bathroom are made with a really nice Texton plaster finish, which just gives a really nice earthy hand to the walls, so it doesn't feel so perfect. This painting was, it's a Carl Schultz. He's just a very interesting early California painter that did a lot of nightscapes. And so to us, it was just this kind of, again, the colors throughout the house are, represented in this painting, but it's also just emblematic of, I think, a time period that my wife and I, I think grew up with, and we can relate, maybe it's our grandparents' homes or our relatives' homes, but it's something you don't see that often anymore. So it's nice to bring in some of those older moments into the home, even though you have some of this more contemporary, monolithic paneling mixed in with some of the older detailing. So with these smaller spaces, there's always a push and pull to kind of create these little cubbies for storage. So a lot of times, we'll just put our phones up here, or if we're reading a book, it'll just go up here. And it's just a nice little release so that it's not, again, it's not that large of a space. And so visually you can kind of create these little tricks by creating these little niches and cubbies. So everything kind of extends a bit farther than what it is in reality. But yeah, we lined the back headboard piece in this really beautiful rose tarlo, kind of saffron colored fabric. We love this older kind of mustard color. I think it works really nicely with the wood, but it's also kind of just relates to this style of architecture that, we're trying to create in this home, which is, again, contemporary with nods back to kind of an older California. I think for as long as I can remember, I've always been interested in space and, even, now it's getting into the essence and idea of home. it can even be, you know, when I was a kid and we moved, you know, for you 90s kids, you'll probably remember the movie Harriet the Spy. I would kind of deck myself out in that kind of outfit and climb into model homes and hide when other people were, you know, touring them. And I think it was just a way to understand what people were looking for in a home, but it's also just, you know, me being a ridiculous kid and trying to get away with stuff. But yeah, I guess I've just been interested in how people occupy space and how you can create space, how you can blend space together, and how that, you know, affect your home, your garden, you know, your commercial space, and so forth. So even though this is a smaller room, what's great is we have this really wonderful French door system opposite the bed. And one of the most wonderful things is to wake up in the morning and just kind of go out and take in the view of the garden and the neighboring canyon. So I'd love to take you out there right now. So this patio extension, porch extension, was a real easy way just to get a little more real estate off of the bedroom without it being an actual kind of conditioned space attached to the, you know, the interior of the house. So what's great is that, you know, from our bed, we can constantly look out at the view, but then, you know, open these big French doors, really let in the exterior, and just really take in this, you know, the view of the canyon. And, you know, I mean, you're up in the treetops. You're kind of in a little tree house up here. So the hallway that leads to two of the bedrooms is very efficient, but we added these transoms throughout to get as much natural light into the smaller space as possible. We lined the upper skylight with a beautiful warm oak just to kind of give this really nice late afternoon glow to this hallway. This sconce was made by Natalie Weinberger in New York City. She and I were kind of discussing this piece for a while, and you know, we wanted this really beautiful candlelight moment to be placed at the end of the hallway that we could, you know, light at the end of the day, just to kind of wind down, get your brain ready for bed. And she came up with this really lovely design that we use quite often. You know, what's nice about this hallway is that, you know, it's a small, intimate space, but by utilizing these pocket doors, you know, you can really, you know, pack quite a bit of punch in just in terms of, you know, fighting for inches. You know, we added transoms throughout the hallway just to get as much natural light into these smaller spaces. So in the kids' bathroom and the guest bathroom, you know, it's a very compact little zone, but we're able to fit it all in. So there's a real interesting kind of little small compact sink. We found this really old Batchfelder ceramic tile piece that was a soap dish, and we just embedded it in. So it's a really fun 100-year-old object that's just embedded in the plaster. But then we use this as our kind of main medicine cabinet, so we're really able to kind of utilize quite a bit of storage that's off behind some of the plumbing. You know, again, additional storage underneath the sink. This is a really beautiful tile from Spain that we found that was here in California that was just in excess, so we decided to use it just because we didn't need that much. And then we just found an old porcelain cast iron tub and just, you know, placed it in as an alcove. And, you know, it's a small space, but it's still kind of a magical space with the skylight, this really fun fabric. And yeah, I think deep down, even though I love to travel, I really am a homebody. I just am looking for that safe space away from, you know, a lot of the stress and chaos from the world. And even though we are here as a family, which can have its own, you know, little kind of micro stress moments, it's just a great place to just hang, have conversations, and spend quality time with one another.
Thanks for watching. Go to homeworthy.com for exclusive content and shopping guides.